Mrs. Henderson grabbed the little girl's arm so hard her fingers left white marks on the skin. "If you ever speak to that maid's daughter again," she hissed, her face inches from the terrified child, "I will tell your father you've been lying. I will tell him you're sick in the head just like your mother. And he will send you away. Do you understand me?" 6-year-old Olivia Ashford nodded, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. She had learned long ago that crying out loud only made things worse. From the shadows of the hallway, Emma Chen watched, and her blood turned to ice. Before we continue this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Follow this journey until the very end. I promise you won't regret it. And drop a comment below telling me which city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's dive back in. Emma Chen pressed her back against the cold wall, her hand clamped over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Her heart pounded so violently she was certain Mrs. Henderson would hear it, but the older woman was too focused on the trembling child in front of her to notice anything else. "Answer me," Mrs. Henderson demanded. "Do you understand?" "Yes, Mrs. Henderson." Olivia's voice was barely a whisper. "Good girl." The nanny released her grip and straightened her blazer, composing herself with frightening speed. One moment a monster, the next a picture of professionalism. "Now go to your room. You've missed your lunch and you'll miss your dinner too. Difficult children don't deserve to eat." Olivia didn't argue. She simply turned and walked away. Her tiny shoulders hunched, her massive curtain of tangled hair swaying with each step like a weight dragging her down. Emma didn't move for a full minute after Mrs. Henderson disappeared in the opposite direction. Her legs felt like they might give out beneath her. What had she just witnessed? She had been working at the Ashford estate for only 2 weeks. 2 weeks of helping her mother, Rosa Chen, with light housekeeping duties while Rosa recovered from her arthritis flare-up. 2 weeks of learning the rhythms of this massive oceanfront mansion, when to be seen, when to disappear, which rooms to avoid. And 2 weeks of noticing a little girl who seemed to exist like a ghost in her own home. Emma found her mother in the laundry room, folding towels with slow, careful movements to protect her swollen joints. "Mama," Emma's voice cracked. Rosa looked up immediately, her weathered face creasing with concern. "Mija, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Mrs. Henderson." Emma glanced over her shoulder, making sure they were alone. "I just saw her with Olivia. She grabbed her so hard, Mama, she threatened her. Said she would tell Mr. Ashford that Olivia was sick in the head, that he would send her away." Rosa's hands stilled on the towel. For a moment something flickered across her face, recognition, fear, resignation, before she masked it with practiced neutrality. "Emma." Her voice dropped low. "You need to forget what you saw." "What, Mama? I can't just—" "Yes, you can, and you will." Rosa's eyes were pleading now. "Mrs. Henderson has been with this family for 2 years. Mr. Ashford trusts her completely. She has references from senators, CEOs, old money families. Who do you think he's going to believe, her or the maid's daughter who's been here 2 weeks?" "But I saw." "I know what you saw." Rosa's voice broke slightly. "I've seen things too, Emma. Little things, the way that child flinches, the way she never speaks above a whisper. But we can't prove anything, and if we try, we lose everything." Emma stared at her mother. "Since when do you look the other way when a child is being hurt?" The words landed like a slap. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "Since I became responsible for keeping a roof over our heads. Since your father left and I had to raise you alone. Since this job became the only thing standing between us and the street." Rosa's hands trembled as she gripped the towel. "I hate it, Mija. I hate myself every day for staying silent. But I'm 58 years old with hands that barely work anymore. Who's going to hire me if we get fired from here? Emma wanted to argue, wanted to say that morality shouldn't have a price tag. But looking at her mother's exhausted, guilt-ridden face, she understood something she'd never fully grasped before. Survival and righteousness don't always walk the same road. "I'm sorry, Mama," Emma whispered. "I didn't mean—" "I know." Rosa wiped her eyes quickly. "Just please, Emma, be careful. Don't draw attention. Don't give that woman a reason to notice you." But it was already too late for that. 3 days passed. Emma tried to follow her mother's advice. She kept her head down, did her work, avoided the east wing where Olivia's room was located. But the image of that little girl's terrified face haunted her every night. And then there was the hair. Even from a distance, Emma could see something was wrong with it. It hung past Olivia's waist in a thick, matted curtain that seemed to move as a single heavy mass rather than individual strands. The child never tied it back, never brushed it aside. It covered half her face constantly, like she was hiding behind it. Or like something was hiding beneath it. On her 3rd day of trying not to get involved, Emma was dusting the hallway outside the library when she heard a small voice. "Excuse me." She turned. Olivia stood a few feet away, clutching a worn teddy bear to her chest. Up close, Emma could see the dark circles under the child's eyes, the pallor of her skin. "I'm not supposed to talk to you," Olivia whispered. "But I heard you talking to Miss Rosa. You said my name." Emma's heart clenched. Yes, I did." "Are you going to tell on me for talking to you?" The fear in those words was so raw, so familiar to a child who'd clearly learned that every interaction came with consequences. "No, sweetheart." Emma crouched down to Olivia's level. "I would never tell on you." Olivia studied her for a long moment as if assessing whether this stranger could be trusted. Then very quietly, "You're Miss Rosa's daughter. She's nice to me sometimes. She sneaks me crackers when Mrs. Henderson forgets to feed me." Forgets to feed her. Emma felt sick. "How often does Mrs. Henderson forget?" Olivia shrugged, a gesture far too world-weary for a 6-year-old. "Sometimes 1 day, sometimes 2. She says I need to learn that food is earned, not given." Emma's hands curled into fists at her sides. "Olivia, that's not true. Food is never something you have to earn. Every child deserves to eat. That's what Grandma used to say." Olivia's eyes grew distant. "Before she died, she used to brush my hair and sing to me. She said I was her sunshine." "What about your daddy? Does he—" "Daddy's busy." The words came out flat, rehearsed. "He has important work. I'm not supposed to bother him." "Do you ever see him?" Olivia thought about it. "Sometimes I see him walking to his office. He walks really fast. One time I waved, but I don't think he saw me." Every word was a knife to Emma's chest. "Olivia?" Mrs. Henderson's voice echoed from somewhere in the house. The transformation in the child was immediate and devastating. Her face went white. Her body went rigid. She clutched her teddy bear so tightly Emma heard the worn seams creak. "I have to go." Olivia was already backing away. "Please don't tell her, please." "I won't, I promise." But the little girl was gone, disappearing around the corner with footsteps so light they barely made a sound. Emma stood alone in the hallway, her heart breaking and her resolve hardening with every passing second. Something was very, very wrong in this house, and she could not look away anymore. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She lay in the small guest room above the garage that she shared with her mother, staring at the ceiling while Rosa snored softly in the next bed. "Forgets to feed her. Difficult children don't deserve to eat. I'll tell him you're sick in the head just like your mother." The phrases circled in Emma's mind like vultures. She knew about Olivia's mother. Everyone in the household did. Margaret Ashford had left 2 years ago, abandoned her husband and daughter for a younger man she'd met at a charity gala. The scandal had been all over the news for weeks. Billionaire's wife runs off with fitness instructor, leaves child behind without a backward glance. But lying here in the dark, Emma wondered if there was more to that story than the headlines suggested. What had it been like for Olivia, 4 years old, watching her mother walk out the door and never come back, left with a father who buried himself in work and a nanny who saw her as a burden rather than a child? And what about that hair Emma had trained as a nurse for 2 years before dropping out to help her mother? She knew what healthy hair looked like, and Olivia's hair was not healthy. The matting, the weight, the way the child moved her head carefully as if it hurt. She made a decision. Tomorrow she would find a way to get closer, to see what was really hiding beneath that tangled curtain. Her mother would be furious. But some things were more important than job security. The next morning, Emma woke. Before dawn, she found Rosa already up, wrapping her swollen hands in warm compresses. "Mama, I need to tell you something." Rosa's eyes narrowed with immediate suspicion. "I don't like the way you said that. I'm going to help that little girl." "Emma." "No, Mama, listen to me." Emma sat down across from her mother, taking her damaged hands gently. "You raised me to do what's right even when it's hard. You worked 3 jobs to put me through school. You taught me that courage isn't about not being afraid, it's about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway." Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "And I also taught you to survive. What kind of life is surviving if we have to watch a child suffer to do it?" Emma squeezed her mother's hands. "I'm not going to make accusations. I'm not going to confront anyone. I'm just going to watch. Gather information. See if there's something concrete that can't be ignored. And if Mrs. Henderson catches you, then I'll deal with the consequences." Rosa was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "Your father was like you," she said softly. "Couldn't walk past someone in pain without trying to help. It's why I fell in love with him. And why he eventually left, because he couldn't ignore the poverty back home. Couldn't rest knowing his family in the Philippines was struggling while we lived comfortably here." Emma had never heard her mother speak about her father's leaving with anything but bitterness. This was different. This was understanding. "He was a good man," Rosa continued. "Foolish sometimes, but good, and you're just like him." She cupped Emma's face in her aching hands. "Be careful, mija. Please, I can't lose you too." "You won't, Mama, I promise." It was a promise Emma hoped she could keep. Opportunity came sooner than expected. That afternoon, Mrs. Henderson received a phone call that sent her rushing out of the mansion in a flurry of irritation. "Personal emergency," she snapped at Rosa as she grabbed her purse. "I'll be back in 2 hours. Make sure the child stays in her room. She's being punished." "Yes, ma'am," Rosa murmured. The moment Mrs. Henderson's car disappeared down the driveway, Emma moved. She found Olivia exactly where she'd been told to stay, sitting on the floor of her bedroom, back against the wall, teddy bear clutched to her chest. The room was immaculate in a way that children's rooms should never be. No toys scattered around. No crayon marks on anything, no evidence that a child actually lived there. "Hi, Olivia." Emma kept her voice soft, non-threatening. Olivia's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. "You're not supposed to be here. Mrs. Henderson said." "Mrs. Henderson is gone for a little while. It's just us." Emma lowered herself to the floor, sitting a few feet away. "Is it okay if I keep you company?" Olivia seemed to wrestle with this for a moment. The rules said no. But she was clearly so desperately lonely that the chance for human connection won out. "Okay," she whispered. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Emma didn't push. She'd learned in her nursing training that trust couldn't be forced. It had to be earned. Finally, Olivia spoke. "You're not scared of me. Scared of you. Why would I be scared of you? Everyone's scared of me." Olivia's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was stating an obvious truth. "They don't want to touch me. Mrs. Henderson says I'm dirty. She says my hair is disgusting and it's my own fault because I won't let anyone near it." Emma's heart rate quickened. "Has anyone tried to brush your hair recently?" "Mrs. Henderson tried once, a long time ago." Olivia's hand drifted up to touch the matted mass. "It hurt really bad," I cried. "She got angry and said if I was going to be difficult, she wouldn't bother anymore. Now she just says I have to live with the consequences of my behavior." Emma felt rage building in her chest, hot and righteous. A child. She was blaming a child for having matted hair. "Olivia, can I tell you something about me?" The little girl nodded. "Before I came here to help my mama, I was studying to be a nurse. Do you know what nurses do? They help sick people." "Oh, that's right, they help people who are hurting." Emma paused, choosing her words carefully. "And part of my training was learning about hair and skin, how to take care of them, how to tell when something's wrong." Olivia's eyes flickered with something, hope maybe, or fear. It was hard to tell. "Would it be okay if I looked at your hair? I won't touch it if you don't want me to. I just want to see if I can help." Olivia was quiet for so long that Emma thought she would refuse. Then very slowly the little girl turned around, presenting her back to Emma. "It hurts," Olivia whispered, "all the time, like something's pulling inside my head." Emma leaned closer, examining the massive curtain of hair without touching it. What she saw made her stomach turn. The hair wasn't just tangled, it was matted in thick, solid clumps that had fused together over what had to be months, maybe even longer. The mass was so dense near the scalp that Emma couldn't see the skin beneath. But she could smell something. Something wrong. Infection. "Olivia, sweetie, I need to look a little closer. I promise I'll be very, very gentle. Can I touch just the outside of your hair? I won't pull or tug." Olivia nodded, her small body tense with anticipation of pain. Emma reached out with careful, steady hands. She barely touched the surface of the matted mass, and her fingers sank into something hard and crusted beneath the hair. She felt Olivia wince even from that minimal contact. "Oh my God." Emma carefully lifted a section of the hair away from the child's neck, trying to see the scalp underneath. What she glimpsed made her want to cry. Open sores, scabbed wounds. The distinctive signs of severe lice infestation, possibly months old, left completely untreated. This child's scalp was infected. Her hair had matted so severely that it was essentially fused to the wounds, creating a breeding ground for bacteria and parasites. And no one had done anything about it. Emma let the hair fall back gently, her hands shaking. "Olivia, how long has your head been hurting like this?" "I don't remember." The little girl's voice was small and tired. "A really long time." "Does Mrs. Henderson know it hurts?" "I told her once. She said I was being dramatic. She said if I wanted it to stop hurting, I should learn to take care of myself like a big girl." Olivia hugged her teddy bear tighter. "But I don't know how to fix it. I tried brushing it once, but it hurt so much I cried and she got angry again." Emma's vision blurred with tears. This child had been suffering, truly physically suffering, and the adult responsible for her care had dismissed it as drama, had used it as a punishment. "Olivia, listen to me!" Emma's voice was fierce with controlled emotion. "This is not your fault. None of this is your fault. You are not difficult, you are not dirty, and you do not deserve to be in pain. Do you understand me?" Olivia turned around, her blue eyes swimming with confusion and desperate hope. "But Mrs. Henderson said Mrs. Henderson was wrong." Emma took both of the child's small hands in hers. And I'm going to help you. I don't know how yet, but I promise you I am not going to let you keep suffering like this." It was a dangerous promise to make, but looking into that little girl's eyes, Emma knew she would keep it or die trying. The sound of a car in the driveway sent ice through Emma's veins. "Mrs. Henderson is back." She stood quickly, pulling Olivia to her feet. "I have to go, but remember what I said, okay? This is not your fault, and I'm going to help." "You promise?" Olivia's voice cracked. "I promise." Emma slipped out of the room and down the back stairs, her mind racing. She needed evidence, something concrete that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. Something that would force Marcus Ashford to see what was happening in his own home. She pulled her phone from her pocket. Over the next week, Emma became a spy in her own workplace. She documented everything. Every time Mrs. Henderson forgot to give Olivia a meal, photographed the untouched tray outside the child's door, time-stamped. Every time she heard raised voices from the East Wing, recorded on her phone hidden in her apron pocket. Every time Olivia appeared with new marks on her arms, new fear in her eyes, logged in a notebook she kept hidden in her pillowcase. And she researched. Late at night, phone brightness turned low so as not to wake her mother. Emma read about matted hair syndrome, about severe lice infestations, about the long-term physical and psychological damage of childhood neglect. What she learned made her more determined and more terrified. Untreated cases like Olivia's could lead to permanent scarring, systemic infections, psychological trauma that could take decades to heal. This child needed medical attention. Immediately. But she also needed proof that would hold up. Proof that couldn't be dismissed as the exaggeration of a maid's daughter trying to cause trouble. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Emma was cleaning the hallway outside Mrs. Henderson's private suite when she heard the nanny's voice through the partially open door, laughing. She crept closer. "I know, right?" Mrs. Henderson was clearly on the phone, her tone casual and cruel in a way Emma had never heard her use around other staff. "The easiest job I've ever had. The father doesn't give a damn, literally hasn't looked at the kid in months. As long as she stays quiet and out of his way, I get paid 6 figures to do basically nothing." Emma's hand tightened on her phone. She had already started recording. "Oh, the hair god, it's disgusting. I stopped dealing with that months ago. Not my problem if the little brat won't cooperate during bath time. Honestly, she gets what she deserves. Kid's always been weird. You should see the way she stares at nothing, muttering to that filthy stuffed animal, probably crazy like her mother." More laughter. "Anyway, I've got another year on this contract minimum. After that, I'm going to leverage this into something even better. Maybe one of those Saudi oil families. I hear they pay double." Emma's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. "Oh, the money for the kids' expenses, please. You think I'm actually spending $800 a month on educational toys and organic food? That money goes straight into my vacation fund. The kid doesn't know the difference anyway." There it was. Financial fraud, verbal confession of neglect, evidence of psychological abuse. Emma had what she needed. Now she just had to figure out how to use it. She found Walter Price in the garden that afternoon. The elderly groundskeeper had worked for the Ashford family for over 40 years. He'd known Marcus since he was a boy, and Emma had noticed the way his eyes followed Olivia with concern whenever the child appeared. "Mr. Price, can I talk to you?" Walter set down his pruning shears and studied her with kind, knowing eyes. "Been wondering when you'd come find me." Emma blinked. "You knew, child, I've been watching that little girl fade away for 2 years, and I've been watching you watch her for the past 2 weeks. He patted the stone bench beside him. "Sit." Emma sat, and then, because she couldn't hold it in any longer, she told him everything. The threats she'd witnessed, the confession she'd recorded, the horrific state of Olivia's hair and scalp, the meals withheld as punishment, all of it. Walter listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You're a brave young woman, Emma Chen, but you're also in a very dangerous position. I know. Mrs. Henderson has powerful connections. She's cultivated them deliberately for exactly this kind of situation. If you go to Mr. Ashford half-cocked without the right approach, she'll destroy your credibility before you get 3 sentences out." "So what do I do?" Walter met her eyes. "You make him see for himself. A man like Marcus Ashford doesn't respond to words. He responds to evidence he can't deny. You've got the recordings, the photos, but what he needs to see, what will break through that wall he's built, is his daughter's suffering. Firsthand. Undeniable. But he won't even look at her. How am I supposed to—" "You put them in the same room," Walter said simply, "and you don't let either of them look away." Emma stared at the old man, a plan beginning to form in her mind. It was risky, possibly career-ending, maybe even illegal, but for Olivia she would risk everything. That night, Emma waited until Mrs. Henderson had gone to bed. Then she crept to the east wing and knocked softly on Olivia's door. "It's me," she whispered. "Emma." The door opened a crack. Olivia's frightened face appeared. "What are you doing here? It's nighttime. Mrs. Henderson will be so angry." "Mrs. Henderson is asleep, and I need to talk to you about something important." She slipped inside, closing the door behind her. "Olivia, do you trust me?" The little girl hesitated. Then slowly she nodded. "Good, because I'm going to do something that might seem scary at first, but I need you to be brave and trust that I'm trying to help you. Can you do that?" Another nod, though fear flickered in those blue eyes. "I'm going to take you to see your daddy." Olivia's face went pale. No, I can't. Daddy doesn't want to see me. He's too busy. Mrs. Henderson says I'm not allowed to bother him. Mrs. Henderson is wrong about a lot of things." Emma crouched down, taking the child's trembling hands. "I think your daddy doesn't know what's been happening to you. I think he's been so lost in his own sadness that he forgot to look. But if we show him, if he sees with his own eyes, I think he'll want to help. But what if he's angry? What if he sends me away like Mrs. Henderson said?" Emma's heart shattered at the genuine terror in that question. "Then I'll fight for you," she said fiercely. "I'll stand right there beside you and I'll tell him the truth, and I won't let anyone hurt you anymore. But Olivia, you can't keep living like this. Your head is hurting because you're sick and you need a doctor, and the only person who can make that happen is your daddy." Olivia's lip trembled. A tear slid down her cheek. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart. I'm scared too." Emma pulled her into a gentle hug. "But sometimes being brave means doing scary things anyway. And I'll be right there with you. Every single second, okay?" Olivia clung to her for a long moment. Then, with the courage of a child who has nothing left to lose, she whispered, "Okay." The walk to Marcus Ashford's study felt like a death march. Emma held Olivia's hand as they moved through the darkened hallways, every creak of the floorboards making them both flinch. The light was on under the study door. Emma could hear the muffled sound of a phone call. She looked down at Olivia one more time. The little girl's face was white with terror, but she hadn't let go of Emma's hand. Emma knocked. The phone call paused. Footsteps approached. The door swung open and Marcus Ashford stood there in rumpled shirt sleeves, phone still pressed to his ear. Annoyance written across his exhausted features. "What is it I'm in the middle of?" He stopped. His eyes had fallen on his daughter. For a moment, nothing happened. Marcus simply stared at the tiny, terrified figure half hidden behind the maid's daughter clutching a worn teddy bear like a lifeline. "I'll call you back," he said into the phone and hung up without waiting for a response. "What is the meaning of this?" His voice was cold controlled. "It's nearly midnight. Why is my daughter out of bed and who authorized you to—" "Mr. Ashford." Emma stepped forward, positioning herself between Marcus and Olivia. "I need you to look at your daughter." "I am looking at her." "No, you're not." Emma's voice shook, but she didn't back down. "When was the last time you really looked at her, touched her, asked her how she was doing?" Marcus's expression darkened. "How dare you? You're a temporary housekeeper. You have no right to—" "I have every right, because while you've been hiding in this study, your daughter has been suffering. Suffering, she has everything money can buy. She has the best nanny in the country has been starving her as punishment. The best nanny in the country has been threatening her with abandonment if she talks to anyone. And the best nanny in the country," Emma's voice cracked, "has let your daughter's hair become so matted and infected that she's been in constant pain for months." Marcus went very still. "That's ridiculous. Henderson sends me weekly reports. Sophie is thriving." "Olivia," Emma interrupted. "Her name is Olivia, and those reports are lies. Everything Henderson has told you is a lie." She pulled out her phone, brought up the photos. "Look at these. Look at your daughter's arms where Henderson grabbed her. Look at the meals that were never served. Look at—" Her voice broke. "Look at what I found when I finally got close enough to examine her hair." She zoomed in on the image of Olivia's scalp. The matted clumps, the visible sores. Marcus's face drained of color. That can't be." "It is, and if you don't believe photos, then look at her yourself. Look at your daughter, Mr. Ashford. Really look at her. For the first time in 2 years, see the child you've been ignoring." The silence stretched unbearably. Then Marcus moved past Emma and crouched down in front of Olivia. The little girl flinched backward, years of conditioning telling her to expect anger. But Marcus didn't yell, didn't scold. Instead, he looked at her, really looked, and his face crumpled. "Olivia," his voice was barely a whisper. "Baby girl." Olivia's lip trembled. "Hi, Daddy." "Can I—" Marcus's hand hovered in the air, uncertain. "Can I see your hair, please?" Slowly, terrified, Olivia turned around. Marcus reached out. His fingers brushed the matted mass, and then he gasped a sound of pure horror as he felt what Emma had felt, the hard, crusted texture, the wrong, sick smell, the subtle wince of pain from his daughter at even the lightest touch. "Oh, God!" His voice shattered. "Oh, my God, my baby, what happened to you?" And finally, Olivia broke. "My head hurts, Daddy." The words came out in a flood of tears. "It hurts all the time, and Mrs. Henderson says I'm being dramatic, but it really, really hurts. And I didn't know how to make it stop, and I wanted to tell you, but she said you'd be mad and send me away, and I didn't want to go away, Daddy. I don't want to leave." Marcus pulled her into his arms, clutching her like he was afraid she'd disappear. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm here now. Daddy's here now. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you ever again." Emma stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face, watching a father finally wake up. But she knew this was only the beginning. The real battle was just getting started. Marcus held his daughter for what felt like hours, his body shaking with sobs he couldn't control. Every cry that escaped Olivia's small frame was a knife twisting deeper into his chest. How had he let this happen? How had he been so blind? "Daddy, you're squeezing too tight." Olivia whimpered. He loosened his grip immediately, pulling back to look at her face. Really look at her. The dark circles under her eyes, the hollowness in her cheeks, the way she flinched when his hand moved too fast. This was his daughter, his flesh and blood, and she was afraid of him. I'm sorry, baby, I'm so sorry. The words felt pathetically inadequate. Emma cleared her throat from the doorway. Mr. Ashford, she needs medical attention. Tonight. That infection could be spreading. Marcus looked up at her, and for the first time he truly saw the young woman who had shattered his carefully constructed world of denial. She was trembling, clearly terrified of the consequences of what she'd done, but she hadn't backed down, hadn't run. You're right. He stood, lifting Olivia into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. When had she gotten so thin? I'm calling Dr. Patterson. She's a family friend, a pediatrician. She'll come. At midnight. She'll come. Marcus repeated, his voice hardening with determination. And then I'm dealing with Henderson. Emma's eyes widened. Mr. Ashford, I have more evidence. Recordings. She admitted to stealing money meant for Olivia's care. She laughed about neglecting her. Something dangerous flickered across Marcus's face. Show me. Emma hesitated, glancing at Olivia. The child didn't need to hear her abuser's voice mocking her suffering. Later, Emma said quietly, after Olivia is being cared for. Marcus understood. He nodded once, then carried his daughter out of the study. Behind them, Emma finally allowed herself to breathe. She had done it. She had broken through. But as she followed Marcus down the hallway, she couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead. Mrs. Henderson was not going to go quietly. The next hour moved in a blur of phone calls and barely contained panic. Dr. Sarah Patterson arrived within 40 minutes, her medical bag in hand. Her face grim as Marcus explained what little he understood about his daughter's condition. How long has her hair been like this? Dr. Patterson asked, gently examining Olivia's scalp with gloved hands. I don't know, Marcus's voice cracked. I didn't know. I should have known, but I didn't. Marcus. The doctor's tone was firm but kind. I need facts right now. Guilt later. Who's been responsible for this child's daily care? The nanny, Eleanor Henderson. And where is she? Asleep in her quarters. I haven't... Marcus ran a hand through his hair, looking lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know the right order to do things. Emma stepped forward. I can wake her. Bring her here. You should be with Olivia. Marcus looked at her with something approaching gratitude. You do that. I'll do whatever it takes to help your daughter, Mr. Ashford. He held her gaze for a long moment. Thank you. And Emma, it's Marcus. She nodded and slipped out of the room before the tears could fall. Emma's hands shook as she approached Mrs. Henderson's private suite. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back to let Marcus handle this, to protect herself. But then she thought of Olivia's infected scalp, of the meals withheld, of a little girl who'd been taught that she didn't deserve to be loved. She knocked firmly. Silence. She knocked again, harder. What? Mrs. Henderson's voice was sharp with irritation. The door swung open, revealing the nanny in a silk robe, her face twisted with annoyance. Do you have any idea what time it is? This better be. She stopped when she saw Emma's expression. Mr. Ashford wants to see you. Emma said, her voice steadier than she'd expected. In Olivia's room. Now. Something flickered across Henderson's face. Fear, calculation, both. At this hour, what's this about? He'll explain when you get there. Henderson's eyes narrowed. What have you done, girl? What lies have you been spreading? No lies, Mrs. Henderson. Just truth. The truth about how you've been treating that child. The truth about the money you've been stealing. The truth about... Henderson moved fast, grabbing Emma's wrist with crushing force. You stupid little fool. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? I have connections that could destroy your entire family. Your mother will never work again. I'll make sure of it. Emma didn't flinch. Let go of me. You think Marcus Ashford is going to believe a maid's daughter over me? I've been managing households like this for 30 years. I have references from, he's already seen the evidence. Emma's voice was ice. He's already seen what you did to Olivia's hair. There's a doctor with her right now, and I have a recording of you admitting everything. For the first time, real fear crept into Henderson's eyes. That's illegal. Recording someone without consent. I guess we'll let the lawyers sort that out. Emma yanked her wrist free. Mr. Ashford is waiting. I suggest you don't keep him any longer. She turned and walked away, her heart pounding so hard she could barely hear her own footsteps. Behind her, she heard Henderson's door slam. The confrontation happened in the hallway outside Olivia's room. Marcus had left Dr. Patterson with his daughter, unable to stand still any longer. He was pacing like a caged animal when Henderson appeared fully dressed, now her face composed into an expression of concerned confusion. Marcus, what on earth is going on? That girl came to my room making wild accusations. Stop! One word cold as steel. Henderson blinked. I'm sorry. I said stop. Stop lying. Stop pretending. Stop treating me like I'm too stupid to see what's right in front of me. Marcus advanced on her, and for the first time Emma saw the billionaire CEO beneath the broken father. My daughter's scalp is infected. She has sores that have been festering for months. She's malnourished. She's terrified. And you... His voice broke. You were supposed to protect her. Marcus, I don't know what that girl has been telling you, but Olivia has always been a difficult child. She refuses to cooperate with basic hygiene. She throws tantrums during bath time. She's 6 years old, Marcus shouted. She's 6. If she was having tantrums, that was a cry for help. If she was refusing baths, you should have figured out why. You don't starve a child into compliance. You don't threaten to have her sent away. Henderson's mask cracked slightly. I have recordings. Emma stepped forward, phone in hand. Would you like to hear them, Mr. Ashford? Would you like to hear Mrs. Henderson laughing about how easy it is to neglect a child whose father doesn't pay attention? The color drained from Henderson's face. That was taken out of context. That was a private conversation. Play it, Marcus said. Emma pressed play. Henderson's voice filled the hallway, casual and cruel. The easiest job I've ever had. The father doesn't give a damn, literally hasn't looked at the kid in months. Marcus listened to every word. His face went through a transformation that Emma would never forget, disbelief giving way to horror. Horror giving way to rage, rage giving way to something deeper and more dangerous. Quiet. When the recording ended, Marcus didn't explode. He didn't yell or threaten or throw things. He simply looked at Henderson with eyes that held nothing but contempt. You're fired. Get your things and get out of my house. You have 15 minutes. Marcus, please, let me explain. 14 minutes now. I'll sue. I'll tell everyone that you're an unfit father. You'll what? Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. Yeah. You'll tell people that a billionaire's daughter was neglected on your watch. You'll explain why you were stealing money meant for a child's care. You'll describe in detail how you let a 6-year-old's hair become so matted that she's been in constant pain. He smiled, and it was terrifying. Please, go ahead, tell everyone. I'll make sure every major news outlet has the full story, complete with medical records and recordings. See how many senators hire you after that. Henderson's composure finally shattered. You can't do this. I have rights. I have 12 minutes. Henderson looked around wildly, searching for an ally and escape. Her eyes landed on Emma with pure hatred. This is your fault, she hissed. You meddling little 11 minutes. Marcus cut her off. And if you say one more word to Emma or anyone else in my household, I'll have you escorted out by police. Your choice. Henderson's mouth opened closed. For a moment, Emma thought she might actually try to argue further. Then something in her broke, her shoulders slumped. She turned without another word and walked toward her quarters. Marcus watched her go, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Mr. Ash, Marcus." Emma approached him carefully. "Olivia needs you. The doctor probably has questions." He nodded slowly, seeming to come back to himself. "You should go too. Get some rest, it's late." "I'd rather stay, if that's okay." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her for the second time that night. "Why?" "Because I promised Olivia I wouldn't leave her, and I meant it." Something shifted in Marcus's expression, a crack in the wall he'd built around himself. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For everything. I don't deserve your help after how I've failed her, but thank you. You can thank me by being the father she needs from now on." Marcus swallowed hard. "I'm going to try. God help me, I'm going to try." They walked back to Olivia's room together. Dr. Patterson's preliminary assessment was devastating. "The matting is severe," she explained, keeping her voice low so Olivia couldn't hear from where she was dozing on her bed, exhausted from crying. "We call this condition plica neuropathica. The hair has essentially fused into solid masses that are attached to the scalp by dried blood pus and sebum. There's also a significant lice infestation that's been left untreated for what I'd estimate is at least 4 to 6 months." Marcus made a sound like he'd been punched. "The scalp has multiple infected sores. Some are superficial, but a few are concerning. I'm prescribing antibiotics to start immediately." "But Marcus..." Dr. Patterson paused, her face grave. "This isn't something I can fix tonight. She's going to need a specialist, someone who can carefully detangle and remove the matted sections without causing more trauma to the scalp. It's a long, painful process." "How long?" "Several hours at minimum, possibly multiple sessions depending on how she tolerates it. And if we don't do it, if we just cut it all off..." Dr. Patterson shook her head. "The mats are attached to her scalp. You can't just cut them off without cutting her skin too. And even if you could, there's infection underneath that needs to be treated properly. This has to be done carefully by someone who knows what they're doing." Emma spoke up. "I used to be a hairstylist. Before nursing school. I've dealt with matted hair before, not this severe, but I know the techniques. I could help if you can guide me on the medical aspects." Dr. Patterson looked at her with surprise, then consideration. "You'd be willing to do that? It's not pleasant work." "I'd do anything for that little girl." The doctor nodded slowly. "Then we'll schedule it for tomorrow. I'll clear my afternoon and bring the supplies. Marcus, I need you to be there too. She's going to need her father." Marcus looked toward the bed where his daughter lay, sleeping, her terrible hair spread across the pillow like a curse. "I'll be there," he said. "I'm not leaving her side again." Emma found her mother waiting in the kitchen. Rosa was sitting at the small staff table, hands wrapped around a cup of cold tea, her face etched with worry. "Mija." She stood the moment Emma entered. "I heard the commotion. Mrs. Henderson just left. She was throwing things into her car, cursing." "What happened? Are you in trouble? Did he fire us too?" "No, Mama." Emma sank into a chair, suddenly exhausted. "We're not fired. Mrs. Henderson is gone, and Olivia is going to get help." She told her mother everything. The confrontation, the doctor, the plan for tomorrow. Rosa listened in silence, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. "That poor baby," Rosa whispered when Emma finished. "That poor, poor baby, all this time right under my nose, and I did nothing." "You couldn't have known how bad it was, Mama. Henderson kept everyone at a distance." "I knew something was wrong. I told myself I was imagining it, told myself it wasn't my place." Rosa's voice broke. "I've been a coward, Emma. A selfish coward." "No." Emma took her mother's hands. "You were trying to survive. There's no shame in that." "But you didn't just survive. You fought. Even when I told you not to, you fought for that child." Rosa looked at her daughter with something new in her eyes. Pride mixed with wonder. "When did you become so brave?" Emma thought about it. "I think I've always been. I just needed something worth being brave for." They sat together in the quiet kitchen until dawn began to lighten the windows. Tomorrow would be hard, but for the first time since Emma had arrived at the Ashford estate, it felt like tomorrow might also be the beginning of something better. The next morning brought chaos of a different kind. Marcus hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in a chair beside Olivia's bed, watching her breathe, cataloging every flinch and whimper in her restless sleep. How many nights had she spent alone in this room, in pain, afraid the thought made him want to vomit? When Olivia finally woke, she seemed confused to find him there. "Daddy." Her voice was small, uncertain. "You stayed." "I stayed, baby, and I'm going to keep staying." Olivia's lower lip trembled. "Mrs. Henderson said you didn't want to see me. She said I reminded you of Mommy, and that's why you're always busy." Marcus felt his heart crack clean in half. "That was a lie, sweetheart. Everything she told you was a lie." He moved to sit on the edge of her bed, taking her small hand in his. "I was busy with work because I was sad and scared, and I didn't know how to be a good daddy anymore, but that's not your fault. None of this is your fault. Do you understand?" Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I thought you didn't love me anymore." "Oh, baby." Marcus pulled her into his arms, careful not to touch her painful hair. "I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second. I got lost for a while, but I'm found now. And I'm never going to get lost again." They held each other while the sun rose higher outside the windows. It wasn't enough. Marcus knew it wasn't nearly enough to make up for 2 years of neglect, but it was a start. Dr. Patterson arrived at noon with a colleague, a specialist in severe hair matting who had driven 2 hours to help. "Mr. Ashford, this is Dr. Michelle Torres. She's worked with Child Protective Services cases involving this condition. She's the best." Dr. Torres shook Marcus's hand briskly. "I've reviewed the photos Dr. Patterson sent. This is one of the more severe cases I've seen in a child this young. I want to be honest with you. This process is going to be difficult for Olivia. It's going to hurt even with the topical anesthetics we'll use. She's going to need all the support you can give her. Whatever she needs." "Good." Dr. Torres turned to where Olivia sat on a chair in the makeshift treatment area they'd set up in the sunroom. Emma was beside her, holding her hand. "And who is this?" "That's Emma," Olivia said quietly. "She's my friend. She promised to stay." Dr. Torres raised an eyebrow at Marcus. He nodded. If Olivia wants her there, Emma stays. The next 4 hours were some of the most grueling Emma had ever experienced. Dr. Torres worked with painstaking care, using special detangling solutions and tools to gradually loosen the matted sections from Olivia's scalp. Some areas came free with patience. Others, where the hair had literally fused to infected wounds, had to be cut away, millimeter by millimeter. Olivia cried, she screamed, she begged them to stop, but she didn't let go of Emma's hand. "I know it hurts, sweetheart," Emma murmured again and again. "I know, but you're being so brave, so brave. And when this is over, your head isn't going to hurt anymore. Can you imagine that, a day where your head doesn't hurt? I can't remember what that feels like," Olivia whimpered. "You will. I promise you will." Marcus sat on Olivia's other side, holding her hand, just as tightly. Tears streamed down his face, but he didn't look away. He witnessed every moment of his daughter's pain, and he let it burn into his memory. He deserved to feel this, every bit of it. We're almost done with the worst section, Dr. Torres announced. Olivia, you're doing amazing, just a little more. I want it to stop. Please, I want it to stop. I know, baby, Marcus choked out. Just squeeze my hand. Squeeze as hard as you need to. Olivia squeezed. Her grip was surprisingly strong for such a small child. Marcus squeezed back and didn't let go. When Dr. Torres finally set down her tools, the sunroom fell silent except for Olivia's exhausted sniffle. It's done, Doctor, Torres said softly. The matted sections are removed. The infected areas have been cleaned and treated. She's going to need follow-up care and antibiotics for the next 2 weeks, but the worst is over. Emma looked at Olivia's head. Where a massive tangled curtain of hair had been there, was now a short, uneven cut, some areas nearly bald where the mats had been most severe. The scalp was red and tender-looking with visible sores that had been covered with medicated bandages. It wasn't pretty, but it was healthy. Can I see? Olivia asked, her voice hoarse from crying. Emma looked at Marcus, uncertain. Would seeing herself like this be too traumatic? But Marcus nodded. Of course, sweetheart. Let's get you a mirror. Olivia stared at her reflection for a long moment. Her hand crept up to touch her shorn hair, her bandaged scalp. I look different, she said. You look free, Emma told her. You look like a girl who doesn't have to hide anymore. Olivia considered this. Then slowly a tiny smile crept across her tear-stained face. My head doesn't hurt, she whispered. Daddy, Emma, my head doesn't hurt anymore. She threw her arms around Emma first, then turned and did the same to Marcus, and standing there in the sunroom holding his daughter for the first time without her flinching away, Marcus Ashford made a silent vow. He would spend the rest of his life making this up to her, whatever it took. The days that followed were a delicate process of rebuilding. Marcus cleared his schedule entirely. He handed control of Ashford Industries to his executive team with strict instructions not to contact him unless the building was literally on fire. I don't understand, his CFO said during their final call. You've never taken more than 3 days off in the entire time I've known you. I've never had a reason to before, I do now. He hung up and didn't look at his phone again for a week. Olivia didn't know what to do with a present father. She kept waiting for him to disappear back into his study, to get bored with her, to remember that she was difficult and too much trouble. But Marcus stayed. He made her breakfast badly but with effort. He read her stories at night, doing all the voices wrong until she giggled and corrected him. He sat with her during her antibiotic treatments. He learned the names of all her stuffed animals and held serious conversations with Lily the teddy bear about important topics like whether butterflies preferred purple flowers or pink ones. Daddy, Olivia said one evening about 5 days after Henderson's departure, are you going to get tired of me? Marcus's heart clenched. What do you mean, sweetheart? Mrs. Henderson said people always get tired of me eventually. She said Mommy got tired of me. She said you would too. Marcus set down the book he'd been reading and pulled Olivia onto his lap. Olivia, I need to tell you something and I need you to really hear it. Can you do that? She nodded solemnly. What Mrs. Henderson told you was wrong. It was cruel and wrong. Your mommy didn't leave because of you. She left because she and I had grown-up problems that had nothing to do with you. And I will never ever get tired of you. You are the most important person in my life. The only reason I was so absent before was because I was broken inside and I didn't know how to fix myself. But that's not your responsibility. My brokenness was never something you had to fix or work around. Do you understand? Olivia's eyes were huge. You were broken. Yes, baby. When your mommy left, something inside me broke. And instead of getting help, instead of being brave, I hid from everything, including you. That was wrong. That was my failure, not yours. But you're not hiding anymore. No. Marcus held her closer. I'm not hiding anymore, and I'm going to spend every day showing you that you're worth being present for, okay? Olivia was quiet for a long moment. Then she snuggled deeper into his arms. Okay, Daddy. It wasn't instant healing. It wasn't a fairy tale transformation, but it was real, and real was enough. Emma tried to give the Ashfords space to reconnect. She took on extra duties around the house to keep herself busy helping Rosa with tasks that had fallen behind during Henderson's reign of terror. But Olivia wouldn't let her disappear entirely. Emma, come see my drawing. Emma, Daddy made pancakes and they're actually good this time. Emma, can you braid my hair when it grows back, a real braid like a princess? Each summons made Emma's heart swell and ache in equal measure. She was getting attached. Too attached, probably. Rosa noticed, of course. Mothers always did. Be careful, mija, she said one afternoon while they folded linens together. You're falling in love with that little girl. I know. And her father. Are you falling there too? Emma's cheeks flushed. Mama, don't mama me. I see the way he looks at you. I see the way you look at him when you think no one's watching. He's my employer, and he's a billionaire, and he's still healing from his wife leaving. There's something, Rosa interrupted gently. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying be careful with your heart. That man carries a lot of damage, so does that little girl. If you're going to love them, you need to be sure you can handle the weight. Emma didn't have an answer for that, because the truth was she wasn't sure of anything anymore, except that she wasn't going anywhere. 2 weeks after Henderson's departure, Marcus called Emma into his study. She went with her heart in her throat, half expecting to be told her services were no longer needed now that the crisis was past. Instead, Marcus gestured to a chair across from his desk. Please sit. Here she sat, hands folded tightly in her lap. Marcus seemed to struggle with words for a moment. Finally, he spoke. I've been trying to figure out how to thank you. I've run through every possible gesture, bonuses, gifts, promotions, and none of them feel adequate. You saved my daughter's life, Emma. Maybe literally. That infection could have become systemic. It could have... He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. I didn't do it for thanks, Emma said quietly. I know. That's what makes it matter. Marcus leaned forward, his expression intense. I want to offer you a permanent position. Not as a housekeeper, as Olivia's companion and educational coordinator. Full benefits salary commensurate with the teaching position, flexible hours, so you can finish your nursing degree. I know you dropped out to help your mother, and I want to make it possible for you to go back. Emma stared at him. That's incredibly generous. It's pragmatic. Olivia needs consistency. She needs someone she trusts, and more than that. Marcus hesitated, then pushed forward. I need someone I trust. These past 2 weeks, you've been the only person in this house who tells me the truth even when it's hard to hear. Do you know how rare that is for someone in my position? I imagine people don't often tell billionaires when they're being idiots. A startled laugh escaped Marcus. No, they don't. Emma felt a smile tugging at her own lips. So you want me to stay and keep telling you when you're being an idiot? Among other things. His eyes met hers and something electric passed between them. What do you say? Emma thought about her mother's warning, about the weight of loving damaged people, about the risks of getting too close. Then she thought about Olivia's smile when her head finally stopped hurting, about Marcus reading bedtime stories in silly voices, about the feeling in her chest whenever she watched this broken family slowly, painfully putting itself back together. I say yes, she heard herself answer. I'm not going anywhere. Marcus's smile was the brightest thing she'd ever seen from him. And somewhere deep inside, Emma knew her life had just changed forever. 3 weeks into Emma's new role, the fragile peace of the Ashford estate shattered. It started with a phone call. Marcus was in the kitchen attempting to make Olivia's favorite sandwich, peanut butter and banana, which she had recently discovered she loved, when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his entire body went rigid. Emma noticed immediately. "Marcus, what's wrong?" He didn't answer, just stared at the phone like it was a snake about to strike. "Daddy, you're squishing my sandwich," Olivia said from her seat at the counter. Marcus looked down. His hand had clenched around the bread, crushing it into a mangled mess. "Sorry, sweetheart. Emma, can you—" "I've got it." Emma moved to take over sandwich duty while Marcus stepped into the hallway to answer the call. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see his face through the doorway. Watched it cycle through shock, anger, and something that looked dangerously like fear. When he returned 5 minutes later, he looked like he'd aged a decade. "Olivia, honey, why don't you take your sandwich to the sunroom? Emma and I need to talk for a minute." Olivia's eyes darted between them, picking up on the tension, with the hypervigilance of a child who'd learned to read adult moods for survival. "Is something bad happening?" "No, baby, just grown-up stuff. I'll come find you in 10 minutes, okay?" She didn't look convinced, but she took her plate and left, glancing back twice before disappearing around the corner. The moment she was gone, Marcus's composure cracked. "That was my lawyer. Margaret's filed for partial custody." Emma felt the blood drain from her face. What she can do that after abandoning Olivia for 2 years? Apparently she's been in therapy. She's worked through her issues. She claims she left because she was suffering from severe depression and I was emotionally unavailable and she felt trapped. Marcus's voice was bitter. Her legal team is arguing that she's a changed person who deserves a relationship with her daughter. But she just left. She didn't call, didn't write, didn't... "I know." Marcus ran both hands through his hair, a gesture Emma had come to recognize as extreme stress. "And it gets worse. Her lawyers are citing the Henderson situation as evidence that I'm an unfit father. They're saying Olivia was neglected under my care." "That's insane. You didn't know." "It doesn't matter. I should have known. That's what any judge will say. I should have been paying attention, and I wasn't." He slammed his palm against the counter. "God, I handed them the perfect ammunition. 2 years of ignoring my daughter, topped off with a medical crisis caused by my own negligence. Margaret's lawyers are going to have a field day." Emma's mind raced. "What about Henderson? She's the one who actually—" "Henderson's disappeared. My investigator can't find her. She cleared out her bank accounts and vanished 2 days after I fired her." Marcus's jaw tightened, "which means she can't be subpoenaed to testify. It's my word against Margaret's narrative, and right now, Margaret's narrative is winning. There has to be something we can do. My lawyer's working on it." "But Emma—" Marcus turned to face her fully, and she saw real fear in his eyes. "If Margaret gets partial custody, Olivia will have to spend time with her, weeks, maybe months, with a woman who walked out on her when she was 4 years old, with a woman who's never even asked how she's doing. Does Margaret know about the hair, the infections, everything Henderson did? She knows. Her lawyers are spinning it as proof that Olivia needs her mother, that a father alone clearly can't provide adequate care." Emma felt sick. "That's not fair. You've been incredible these past few weeks. You've completely changed." 3 weeks doesn't erase 2 years, Emma. Not in the eyes of the law." Marcus's voice broke slightly. "I can't lose her. I just got her back. I can't—" He stopped, unable to finish. Emma did something she probably shouldn't have. She crossed the space between them and wrapped her arms around him. Marcus stiffened for a moment, then his arms came around her, holding on like she was the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become quicksand. "We'll figure this out." Emma murmured against his chest. Whatever it takes, we'll fight. You didn't think I was going to let you face this alone, did you? Marcus pulled back just enough to look at her face. Something passed between them, something that went far beyond employer and employee, far beyond gratitude and duty. Daddy. They sprang apart. Olivia stood in the doorway, her sandwich untouched, her eyes wide and frightened. Why were you hugging Emma? Are you sad? Is something bad happening? I heard you say you can't lose her. Who can't you lose? Are you sending Emma away? Please don't send Emma away. Please, Daddy, I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Marcus was on his knees in front of her in an instant. Olivia, no. No one's going anywhere. I was sad about something and Emma was helping me feel better, that's all. You promise? I promise. But Olivia's eyes were still fearful, still searching for the trap in his words. 2 years of lies from Henderson had taught her that adults' promises meant nothing. Marcus saw it, and it broke him all over again. The custody hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. In that time, the Ashford household became a war room. Marcus's legal team descended daily for strategy sessions. Emma found herself included in more and more of these meetings, as Marcus relied on her for emotional support and practical insight about Olivia's needs. The child should testify, one of the lawyers suggested during a particularly tense session. Let the judge see her bond with her father. Let her describe what Henderson did. Absolutely not. Marcus's voice was steel. She's 6 years old. I'm not putting her on a witness stand to be cross-examined by her mother's lawyers. Mr. Ashford, with respect, that may be our strongest play. I said no. Marcus stood, ending the discussion. Find another way. After the lawyers left, Emma found him in the garden staring at nothing. You made the right call, she said, sitting beside him on Walter's favorite bench. Making Olivia testify would traumatize her. I know, but they're right that it would help our case. Marcus's laugh was hollow. Some father I am. Part of me actually considered it, actually weighed my daughter's trauma against my chances of keeping her. The fact that you said no is what matters. Is it because right now I feel like I'm failing her all over again? Emma reached out and took his hand. It had become natural between them over the past weeks, these small touches, these moments of connection that neither of them acknowledged directly. You're not failing her. You're protecting her. That's exactly what a good father does. Marcus turned his hand over, interlacing his fingers with hers. How do you do that? Do what? See the best in me, even when I can't see it myself. Emma didn't have an answer. Or rather, she had an answer that scared her too much to say out loud. So instead, she just held his hand, and they sat together until the sun began to set. 4 days before the hearing, everything got worse. A manila envelope arrived at the estate addressed to Marcus personally. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Olivia with her matted hair looking gaunt and miserable. Olivia alone in the massive house, surrounded by luxury but clearly neglected. Olivia with visible bruises on her arms where Henderson had grabbed her. And a typed note. These photos will be submitted to the court as evidence of systematic neglect unless you agree to Margaret's terms. Full custody to the mother. You can have supervised visitation twice a month. Sign the attached agreement or watch your failure be displayed for the whole world to see. Marcus's hands shook as he read the note a second time. Henderson, he breathed. She took these. She's been documenting everything and now she's selling the evidence to Margaret. Emma stared at the photographs, her stomach churning. This is blackmail. It's illegal. Proving that will take time we don't have. And even if we prove it, the photos still exist. The damage still gets done. Marcus threw the envelope across the room, photographs scattering like fallen leaves. I should have prosecuted her when I had the chance. I should have pressed charges instead of just throwing her out. You were focused on Olivia. You made the right choice in the moment. Did I? Because now that choice is about to cost me my daughter. Rosa appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Mr. Ashford, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a woman at the gate. She says she's Mrs. Ashford, Margaret Ashford. The blood drained from Marcus's face. She's here now. She's demanding to see Olivia. She says she has a legal right. She has no legal right until the court says she does. Marcus was already moving toward the door. Where's Olivia? In the sunroom with Emma's mother. I didn't want her to see. Keep her there. Don't let her out of your sight. Marcus strode toward the front gate and Emma followed without being asked. Margaret Ashford was exactly what Emma had pictured and nothing like it at all. She was beautiful in that polished, expensive way that wealthy women cultivated. Blonde hair, perfectly styled. Designer clothes that probably cost more than Emma's entire wardrobe. But her eyes were red-rimmed and her perfectly manicured hands were trembling. Marcus. Her voice cracked on his name. Please, I just want to see her. I just want to see my daughter. You don't have a daughter. Marcus's voice was ice. You gave up that title when you walked out without looking back. I was sick, Marcus. I was drowning and you wouldn't see it. You were so wrapped up in your company, your success, your endless meetings. I was disappearing and you didn't even notice. So you left your 4-year-old behind. That was your solution. Margaret's composure cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm not proud of it. I hate myself for it every single day. But I'm better now. I've spent 2 years in therapy working through everything. I want to make it right. It's too late for that. It's never too late to love your child. Emma watched this exchange with her heart pounding. Part of her wanted to hate Margaret, wanted to see her as a villain pure and simple, but the pain in the woman's eyes looked real. The remorse in her voice sounded genuine. People weren't simple, even people who did terrible things. Marcus. Emma spoke quietly, drawing both of their attention. Maybe we should hear what she has to say. Marcus turned to her with something like betrayal in his eyes. You can't be serious. I'm not saying she deserves anything. I'm saying Olivia deserves to have all the information. Right now, she thinks her mother left because she was difficult, because she was unlovable. If Margaret has an explanation, even a bad one, maybe knowing it would help Olivia heal. Margaret stared at Emma like she was seeing an angel. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. I don't understand. Emma cut her off. I think what you did was cowardly and cruel, but I care about Olivia more than I care about punishing you. And right now, I think she needs answers more than she needs protection from hard truths. Marcus was silent for a long moment. His jaw worked. His hands clenched and unclenched. Finally, he spoke. 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to explain yourself. Not to me, to Emma. If she thinks Olivia should hear whatever you have to say, then we'll discuss it. But you don't go near my daughter until I'm convinced it won't hurt her more. Margaret nodded frantically. Yes, of course, whatever you want. Marcus turned and walked back toward the house without another word. Emma was left alone with the woman who had abandoned Olivia. They sat in the garden, Walter's territory, neutral ground. Margaret's hands hadn't stopped shaking. She looked smaller up close, Emma realized. Less like a villain and more like a broken person who'd made terrible choices. I know you hate me, Margaret began. I'd hate me too. I don't hate you. I don't know you well enough to hate you. But you love my daughter. Emma didn't deny it. Yes. Margaret's eyes filled with fresh tears. I can see it. The way Marcus talked about you at the gate. Emma this, Emma that. And the way you spoke up for Olivia just now, putting her needs above everything else. She laughed bitterly. You've been a better mother to her in a few weeks than I ever was. I'm not her mother. No, but you could be, couldn't you? If things keep going the way they're going. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. We're not. It's okay, I'm not accusing you of anything, I'm just seeing clearly for the first time. Margaret wiped her eyes. I used to think Marcus was the problem, that if he'd just paid attention to me, been present with me, I wouldn't have fallen apart. But watching him these past few weeks, the reports I've gotten from my lawyers, the changes they've described, I realize he was always capable of being that man. He just needed the right person to show him how. What exactly are you saying? Margaret took a deep breath. I'm saying that I didn't come here to take Olivia away. I came because my lawyers told me to, because they said showing up would strengthen my case, but sitting here with you, seeing the life my daughter has now, she trailed off. I think maybe the most loving thing I can do is let her go. Emma stared at her. You'd drop the custody suit. I'd want something in return, not custody, just contact. The chance to send her letters, to maybe see her once a year supervised if she wants to. I don't want to be a stranger to her forever, but I also don't want to rip apart the life she's finally building. Why should I believe you? Margaret met her eyes directly. You shouldn't. I've given you no reason to trust me. But ask yourself this, if I really wanted to destroy Marcus, would I be sitting here offering to back down? Or would I be in court right now, submitting those photographs and watching his world burn? She had a point. The photographs, Emma said slowly. Henderson's been feeding them to your legal team. Margaret nodded. Eleanor approached my lawyers 2 weeks ago. She wanted money, a lot of it, in exchange for evidence that would guarantee I'd win. My team was eager to use it. But I looked at those photos, really looked at them. Margaret's voice broke. And I saw my daughter, suffering, alone. And I realized that whoever was responsible for this, whether it was Marcus or Henderson or me, for leaving in the first place, the only thing that mattered was that it never happened again. She reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. This is everything Henderson gave us, all the photos, the documentation, her testimony. I'm giving it to you. Emma took the drive with trembling fingers. Why? Because I want Olivia to have the life she deserves. And if that life doesn't include me, Margaret's voice shattered, then at least I can make sure no one else uses her suffering as a weapon. Emma looked at this woman, this flawed, broken, complicated woman, and felt something shift in her chest. I'll talk to Marcus, she said finally. I'll tell him what you've said, but Margaret, if this is a trick, if you're playing some kind of game, it's not. Margaret stood, gathering her composure around her like armor. Tell Olivia. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I always loved her even when I was too broken to show it. And tell her that walking away was never about her. It was always, always about me. As she turned and walked toward the gate, her designer heels clicking on the stone path. Emma watched her go, the USB drive heavy in her hand. Marcus didn't believe it. It's a trap, he insisted when Emma told him everything. She's playing good cop while her lawyers prepare to ambush us in court. Maybe, but she gave us the Henderson evidence, all of it, which could be a copy. The original could still be submitted. Or she could be telling the truth. Marcus stopped pacing. Why are you defending her? I'm not defending her. I'm trying to see the situation clearly. Isn't that what you said you needed me for? Someone who tells you the truth even when it's hard. He flinched. This is different. How? Because this is my daughter's life. Because I can't afford to be wrong. And I understand that, but Marcus... Emma stepped closer, forcing him to meet her eyes. What if she's genuine? What if Olivia could have some kind of relationship with her mother? A safe, controlled, supervised relationship. Don't you think Olivia deserves the chance to make that choice someday? She's 6. She won't always be 6, and she'll grow up with questions. Why did Mommy leave? Didn't she love me? Was I not good enough? Emma's voice softened. Those questions will haunt her whether Margaret is in her life or not. At least if there's some kind of contact, Olivia might get answers. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. I don't know how to trust anyone anymore. My wife betrayed me. My employee tortured my daughter. Everyone I've ever relied on has let me down. Not everyone. He looked at her. Really looked the way he'd started looking at her more and more often over the past weeks. No, he agreed softly. Not everyone. The moment stretched between them, charged with everything neither of them had said. Then Marcus took a step closer. And another. Until they were standing close enough that Emma could feel the warmth radiating from his body, could see the pulse jumping in his throat. Emma. Her name was a question. Yes. I need you to know something. Before whatever happens next, the hearing, Margaret, all of it, I need you to understand that you've become more to me than just someone who helps with Olivia. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. Marcus, I know the timing is terrible. I know I have no right to say this when my life is falling apart and I can't offer you anything stable, but I've spent 2 years hiding from everything that mattered, and I can't do that anymore, not with you. What are you saying? He reached up his hand, hovering just beside her face, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers brushed her cheek with devastating gentleness. I'm saying that somewhere between midnight confrontations and matted hair and burned pancakes, I started falling for you. And I don't know what that means or where it goes, but I couldn't keep pretending it wasn't happening. Emma closed her eyes. Every rational part of her brain screamed warnings: too fast, too complicated, too much at stake. But her heart didn't care about rationale. I feel it too, she whispered. I've been trying not to, but I feel it too. Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. His forehead dropped to rest against hers. What do we do? I don't know, but whatever it is, we do it together. Okay, okay. They stood there breathing the same air, balanced on the edge of something new. Then Olivia's voice rang out from somewhere in the house. Emma, Daddy, Miss Rosa says dinner's ready. They broke apart, sharing a look that was equal parts relief and regret. To be continued. Marcus asked, a hint of his old smile returning. To be continued. They walked toward dinner together, and if their hands brushed occasionally on the way, neither of them mentioned it. The custody hearing arrived faster than anyone was ready for. Marcus had spent days preparing, reviewing testimony, strategizing with lawyers, trying to anticipate every possible attack. Emma had spent those same days with Olivia, maintaining normalcy while the adults fought wars over her future. The morning of the hearing, Olivia seemed to sense that something big was happening. Emma, why is Daddy wearing his serious suit? He has important meetings today, sweetheart. Is it about me? Emma hesitated. They had agreed not to burden Olivia with the details of the custody battle, but she'd also promised herself never to lie to this child. Yes, she said finally. It's about making sure you're happy and safe. Olivia nodded solemnly. Is it about my mommy? Emma's breath caught. Why do you ask that? I heard Miss Rosa talking to the other helper lady. She said my mommy wants to see me. Olivia's small fingers twisted in her lap. Is she going to take me away? No one is going to take you away. Emma pulled her into a hug. Your daddy is going to make sure of that. But what if my mommy's sad? What if she misses me? The question was so pure, so full of a child's impossible capacity for empathy, that Emma felt tears prick her eyes. If she misses you, Emma said carefully, then maybe someday if you want you could talk to her but only if you want to, and only when you're ready. Okay. Will you be there if I talk to her? Always, sweetheart. I'll always be there. Olivia seemed satisfied with that. She snuggled closer and they sat together until Marcus came to say goodbye. I have to go now, baby girl. He crouched down, taking both of Olivia's hands. But I want you to know that no matter what happens today, I love you. More than anything in the world, and I'm going to fight with everything I have to protect you. I know, Daddy. Olivia hugged him tight. Emma told me I'm safe. Marcus looked at Emma over his daughter's head. The gratitude in his eyes was overwhelming. She's right, he said. You're safe. I promise. He kissed Olivia's forehead, squeezed Emma's hand once, and left for the battle of his life. 3 hours later, Emma's phone rang. She answered immediately. Marcus, what happened? His voice was strange, stunned, almost disbelieving. It's over. What do you mean it's over? Margaret withdrew her petition. She stood up in court and told the judge she no longer believed seeking custody was in Olivia's best interest. She asked for the case to be dismissed. Emma's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the nearest chair. She actually did it. She actually did it. My lawyers are in shock. Her lawyers are furious, but the judge dismissed the case. Marcus let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. I'm bringing home ice cream. Tell Olivia we're celebrating. I'll tell her, Marcus. Yeah, I'm proud of you. For fighting. For not giving up. A pause. Then softly. I had something worth fighting for. I had 2 things worth fighting for. The line went dead and Emma sat there smiling like an idiot, while tears streamed down her face. When Marcus got home, Olivia tackled him at the door. Daddy, Emma said we're celebrating. What are we celebrating? Marcus swung her up into his arms, holding her tight. We're celebrating being a family. We're celebrating never having to be scared again. Is my mommy gone? Marcus hesitated. This was the part he'd been dreading. Your mommy isn't going to try to take you away, he said carefully. But she wanted me to give you something. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. Inside was a letter handwritten several pages long and a photograph. The photo showed Margaret holding newborn Olivia in the hospital, tears of joy streaming down her face. She wrote this for you, Marcus explained. She said you can read it whenever you're ready, and she said, his voice caught. She said she loves you very much even if she wasn't good at showing it. Olivia stared at the photo for a long time. She looks happy. She was happy, baby. The day you were born was the happiest day of her life. She told me that once. Then why did she leave? It was the question Marcus had been dreading for years, but Emma's words echoed in his mind. Those questions will haunt her whether Margaret is in her life or not. Sometimes grown-ups get sick in their hearts, he said slowly. Not sick like a cold, but sick in a way that makes them do things they don't understand. Your mommy was sick like that and she needed to go away to get better. Like how my head was sick. A little bit like that, yes. Did she get better? She says she did. And maybe someday if you want, you can find out for yourself. Olivia was quiet, processing this in her 6-year-old way. Then she looked up at her father with those ancient, knowing eyes. Can I keep the picture? Of course, baby, it's yours. But I want to live with you and Emma. I want us to be a family. Marcus's heart swelled until he thought it might burst. That's exactly what we're going to be. Emma watched from the doorway as Marcus carried Olivia to the kitchen for ice cream, listening to her chatter about flavors and toppings and whether sprinkles counted as a food group. Rosa appeared beside her, watching the same scene. You did a good thing, mija. For both of them. I didn't do anything. Margaret made her choice. Margaret made her choice because someone showed her what was possible. Someone showed her what that little girl's life could look like with the right people loving her. Rosa smiled. That was you. That's always been you. Emma shook her head, but she was smiling too. Maybe her mother was right. Maybe courage wasn't just about fighting battles. Maybe it was also about showing people what was worth fighting for. And as she walked toward the kitchen to join her strange, beautiful, chosen family, Emma knew she'd finally found her place in the world. 2 months had passed since the custody hearing, and the Ashford estate had transformed into something Emma never expected, a home filled with laughter. Olivia's hair had grown back soft and healthy, falling just past her shoulders in gentle waves. She wore it in ponytails now, in braids, in messy buns that Emma taught her to make herself. She ran through the hallways without fear. She spoke at full volume. She left toys scattered across floors and crayon marks on walls. And Marcus celebrated every single mess as evidence of a childhood reclaimed. But beneath the surface of this newfound happiness, Emma felt the ground shifting. It started small, a touch that lingered too long, a glance across the dinner table that made her forget how to breathe. Late-night conversations on the terrace that stretched until dawn, covering everything from philosophy to childhood dreams, to the particular way moonlight hit the ocean. They hadn't kissed since that moment in the hallway that charged, interrupted confession. But the wanting was there, building like pressure behind a dam, and Emma didn't know how much longer either of them could ignore it. One evening after Olivia was asleep, Marcus found Emma in the library. She was curled in her favorite armchair, pretending to read a book she'd been staring at for 20 minutes. "You're on page 47, Marcus said, settling into the chair across from her. "You've been on page 47 for 3 days. Emma looked up, caught. "It's a slow read. It's a murder mystery. It's supposed to be a page-turner. Maybe I'm savoring it." Marcus smiled, that slow, devastating smile that had started appearing more and more often. "Emma." "Marcus, we need to talk." Her heart stuttered. "About what? About the elephant in the room, about what's happening between us." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, eyes intent on her face. "Because something is happening, and pretending it isn't is getting harder every day." Emma set the book aside, giving up all pretense. "I know. So what do we do about it?" "I don't know." She pulled her knees to her chest, a defensive posture she hadn't used around him in weeks. "You're my employer. Your daughter depends on me. If we try something and it goes wrong, what if it goes right? That's not the point." "Isn't it?" Marcus stood, crossing to her chair, crouching beside her the way he did with Olivia when something important needed to be said. "Emma, I've spent most of my life making safe choices, practical choices. I married Margaret because she looked good on paper. I buried myself in work because emotions were messy and unpredictable. And look where that got me, a broken family and a daughter I almost lost. That wasn't because you took a risk. That was because you didn't pay attention." "Exactly. I didn't pay attention to what mattered because I was too busy protecting myself from the possibility of pain." He reached out, taking her hand. "I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to look back in 5 years and wonder what might have happened if I'd been brave enough to find out." Emma's eyes burned with unshed tears. "Marcus, I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of everything. Of ruining what we have. Of confusing Olivia. Of becoming just another person who lets you down." "You could never let me down. You don't know that. I know enough." His thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. "I know you knocked on my door at midnight to save a child you barely knew. I know you stood up to Henderson when everyone else was afraid. I know you gave Margaret a chance when most people would have wanted her destroyed. That's who you are, Emma. That's the person I see every day. and I can't imagine that person letting anyone down. A tear slipped down her cheek. What about my mother? What if this makes things awkward for her? I talked to Rosa yesterday. Emma's eyes widened. You what? I asked her blessing, not for anything specific, just for the possibility, for permission to pursue something with her daughter. You asked my mother for permission to date me. I'm old-fashioned. Sue me. Despite everything, Emma laughed. What did she say? She said, and I quote, "It's about time, you oblivious man. I've been watching you two dance around each other for months." Emma laughed harder, the tension breaking. That sounds like Mama. She also said if I hurt you, she knows where I sleep and she's not afraid of prison. That also sounds like Mama. They were both laughing now, and somehow in the middle of it, the distance between them disappeared. Marcus's hand cupped her face. Emma's fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt. Their foreheads touched. So what do you say? Marcus whispered. Can we try this slowly, carefully, with full acknowledgement that we're both terrified and neither of us has any idea what we're doing? Emma looked into his eyes, those eyes that had been so cold and distant when she first arrived, now warm and vulnerable and full of something that looked remarkably like hope. Yes, she heard herself say, let's try. And when he kissed her soft and tentative and perfect, Emma finally understood what it felt like to come home. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of stolen moments and careful negotiations. They told Olivia together a conversation Emma had dreaded more than almost anything. Sweetheart, we want to talk to you about something. Marcus sat Olivia down in the sunroom, Emma beside him. You know how much Emma means to both of us, right? Olivia nodded, her eyes flicking between them with the wariness of a child who'd learned that adult conversations often meant bad news. Well, Emma and I have been talking, and we've realized that we care about each other in a special way. Marcus glanced at Emma, clearly struggling with how to explain adult romance to a 6-year-old. The way people care about each other when they want to be together. Olivia's brow furrowed. Like boyfriend and girlfriend. Something like that, yes. Are you going to get married? Emma choked slightly. That's a little far ahead, because if you get married, Emma would be my stepmom. Olivia's eyes suddenly lit up. Would I get to call you Mom? I've never had a mom. Well, I had a mom, but she left, so it doesn't really count. But if Emma was my mom, Olivia slowed down. Emma crouched in front of her, taking both small hands. Your daddy and I are just starting to figure out what we are to each other. It's going to take time, but whatever happens, I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. Whether I'm your stepmom or your friend or your whatever we decide to call it, I will always be here for you. Olivia considered this with the gravity of a Supreme Court justice. Do you love my daddy? Emma felt Marcus's eyes on her. They hadn't said those words yet, not to each other. It felt too soon, too fragile. But she wouldn't lie to this child. I think I'm falling in love with him, she said quietly. Yes. Olivia beamed. Do you love me? Oh, sweetheart. Emma pulled her into a hug. I've loved you from the moment you whispered, please don't send me back to Mrs. Henderson. I love you more than I can say. When she looked up, Marcus's eyes were glistening. Then it settled. Olivia wriggled free, her tone suddenly businesslike. You should definitely get married. I want a purple dress for the wedding, and a flower crown. And can we have butterflies? I saw butterflies at a wedding on TV once, and it was beautiful. Butterflies. Marcus managed his voice thick with emotion. We'll see what we can do. Olivia skipped off, apparently satisfied that the adult situation had been adequately resolved. Emma stood, shaking her head. I was prepared for tears. I was prepared for confusion. I was not prepared for wedding planning. She's resilient. Marcus slipped an arm around her waist. She gets that from you. She's not my biological child. Resilience isn't genetic, it's taught, and you've been teaching her every day since you got here. Emma leaned into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her shoulder. So, butterflies, huh? Butterflies, he confirmed, and a purple dress. Apparently we have our orders. 6 weeks into their relationship, the storm hit. It came in the form of an email, a message forwarded to Marcus by his legal team with a subject line that made his blood run cold. Urgent Henderson resurfaces. Eleanor Henderson had not disappeared after all. She had been building a case, a wrongful termination lawsuit filed in federal court. Henderson claimed she had been fired without cause, her reputation destroyed by baseless accusations from a young woman with inappropriate designs on her employer. She was seeking $2 million in damages and threatening to go public with her side of the story if Marcus didn't settle. This is insane. Emma stared at the legal documents, her hands trembling. She abused a child. We have evidence. Evidence she's now claiming was fabricated. She's saying you doctored the photos, that you manipulated me, that you saw a vulnerable billionaire and manufactured a crisis to make yourself indispensable. Marcus's voice was tight with controlled fury. No one will believe that. You'd be surprised what people believe when money's involved. And Henderson knows exactly how to present herself. She has 30 years of references, powerful connections. Against that, we have the word of a former nursing student who dropped out to help her immigrant mother. So what, we just let her win? Of course not. But fighting this is going to be ugly, public. Everything that happened to Olivia will be dragged into the open. Marcus slammed his hand against his desk. That's what she's counting on. She knows I'll do anything to protect Olivia from that kind of scrutiny. Emma's mind raced. The recording. I recorded her admitting everything, which she claims was illegally obtained and selectively edited. Her lawyers have already filed a motion to have it excluded. But Margaret gave us all the files. Henderson's original documentation that Henderson now says was stolen. She's claiming Margaret's people hacked her personal cloud storage. Marcus laughed bitterly. She's thought of everything. Every piece of evidence we have, she's found a way to discredit. Emma felt the walls closing in. After everything they'd survived, the confrontation, the custody battle, the long road to healing, were they really going to be destroyed by the same woman who had started all of this? There has to be something we're missing, she insisted. Henderson's not that smart. She's cruel, not clever. She's clever enough, or whoever's advising her is. Marcus paused, a new thought crossing his face. Wait, that's it. What's it? Henderson doesn't have the resources to mount a federal lawsuit on her own. Someone's backing her, someone's paying her legal fees, coaching her on strategy. He grabbed his phone. I need to make some calls. Who would want to help Henderson destroy you? Marcus's expression darkened. I can think of a few candidates. Business rivals, board members who want me out, maybe even... He stopped. Who? My father-in-law, Margaret's father. He never forgave me for the divorce, blamed me for driving his daughter to leave. And he has the resources to fund something like this without breaking a sweat. Would he really use Henderson to get revenge? Richard Davenport would burn the world to ash if he thought it would hurt me. He sees Olivia as a possession that should have belonged to his family. When Margaret walked away from custody, he lost his path to control. Marcus's jaw tightened. This is exactly the kind of move he'd make. The investigation took 3 agonizing weeks. Private detectives, forensic accountants. Every resource Marcus had was poured into uncovering the connection between Henderson and whoever was pulling her strings. During that time, the lawsuit became public. News outlets picked up the story, "Billionaire accused of wrongful termination by longtime nanny." The coverage was carefully neutral, but the implication was clear: where there's smoke, there's fire. Emma faced the hardest test of her courage when a reporter ambushed her outside the estate gates. "Miss Chen, is it true you manufactured evidence against Eleanor Henderson to advance your relationship with Marcus Ashford?" She froze, microphones thrust in her face, cameras flashing. "Miss Chen, were you romantically involved with Mr. Ashford before or after Mrs. Henderson's termination? Is it true you're after his money? Did you really drop out of nursing school, or were you expelled for misconduct?" Rosa appeared beside her, face blazing with protective fury. "You leave my daughter alone. She is a good woman, better than any of you." "Ma'am, we're just asking questions. Your questions are poison." Rosa shielded Emma with her own body, pushing toward the gate. "Go get out of here before I call police." Inside the estate, Emma collapsed against the wall, shaking. "I'm so sorry, mija." Rosa held her tight. "Those vultures, they know nothing about what really happened." "It doesn't matter what they know. It matters what people believe." Emma's voice was hollow. "Marcus is going to be destroyed by this. His company, his reputation, everything he's built. Marcus can take care of himself. What about you? What about what this is doing to you?" Emma didn't have an answer. That night she found Marcus in his study, surrounded by documents and empty coffee cups. "We found the connection," he said without preamble. "It's not my father-in-law." "Who then?" "Charles Warren. He's on my board of directors, has been for 15 years. Marcus handed her a file. "He's been funneling money to Henderson through a series of shell companies. And look at the timing, it started 2 weeks after the custody case was dismissed." Emma flipped through the papers. "Why would a board member want to destroy you?" "Because I'm blocking a merger he wants. A deal that would make him hundreds of millions but would require massive layoffs. I've refused to approve it for 2 years. He's been looking for leverage and Henderson gave it to him." Marcus's laugh was bitter. "It was never about Henderson. It was never about revenge. It was about business, always about business." "So what do? I call an emergency board meeting. I present this evidence, and I force Charles Warren to resign before he can force me out. Will that work?" "I don't know." Marcus looked at her with exhausted eyes. "But I know I can't let him win. If he takes my company, he takes my ability to protect you and Olivia. He takes everything." Emma moved to his side, taking his face in her hands. "Then we fight, together, like we always have." "I don't deserve you." "Stop saying that. You deserve to be happy, Marcus. You deserve a family and a life and all the things Henderson and Warren are trying to take away, and I'm not going to let them have it." He kissed her then, not tentatively like that first kiss, but desperately, like she was oxygen and he was drowning. "I love you," he said against her lips. "I should have said it weeks ago, months ago. I love you, Emma Chen." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I love you too." The board meeting was scheduled for Friday. Marcus spent every waking hour preparing his case, gathering allies, shoring up support from board members he could still trust. Emma focused on Olivia maintaining normalcy while the adults waged war in conference rooms. But Olivia wasn't fooled. "Something bad is happening," she said on Thursday evening, her small hand finding Emma's. "I can tell. Daddy looks the way he used to look before, sad and far away. Daddy's dealing with some difficult people at work, but he's going to be okay." "Is it about Mrs. Henderson?" Emma hesitated. They'd never explicitly told Olivia about the lawsuit, but children always knew more than adults realized. "Yes," she admitted. "It's about Mrs. Henderson. She's trying to hurt us again, isn't she?" "She's trying, but your daddy won't let her." Olivia was quiet for a moment. Then, I want to help. Sweetheart, there's nothing you can... I want to tell people what she did to me. I want them to know she's lying. Emma's heart stopped. Olivia, that's very brave, but you don't have to do that. You've been through so much already. I know. Olivia's eyes were far too old for her age. But if I don't say anything, she might win. She might hurt other kids the way she hurt me. And I don't want any other kid to feel invisible. Emma pulled her into a tight embrace, overwhelmed by the courage of this small, fierce chaw. I'll talk to your daddy, she whispered. We'll figure out the right way to do this. Okay? Okay. Olivia hugged back. I love you, Emma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. Marcus's reaction to Olivia's offer was immediate and conflicted. Absolutely not. She's 6 years old. I'm not putting her in front of board members and cameras to relive the worst experience of her life. She wants to do it, Marcus. She understands what's at stake. She can't possibly understand. She's a child. A child who survived 2 years of abuse and came out the other side with more empathy than most adults I know. Emma took his hand. I'm not saying we should use her as a prop. I'm saying maybe we should listen to what she needs. Maybe speaking up is part of her healing. Marcus struggled visibly with this. Every instinct screamed to protect his daughter, to shield her from the ugliness of adult conflicts. But Emma was right. Olivia had spent too long being silent. Maybe finding her voice was exactly what she needed. A written statement, he said finally, in her own words, read by someone else. She doesn't appear in person. That's fair. And if at any point it becomes too much, we stop, no matter what. Of course. Marcus nodded, decision made. I'll call my lawyers. The emergency board meeting took place in the Ashford Industries headquarters downtown. 22 board members sat around a massive conference table. Charles Warren sat at the far end, looking confident and smug. He had no idea what was coming. Marcus stood at the head of the table, a folder in his hands. Thank you all for coming on short notice. I'll get straight to the point. As you know, I'm currently facing a lawsuit from Eleanor Henderson, my daughter's former caregiver. Ms. Henderson claims she was wrongfully terminated and that the evidence against her was fabricated. Murmurs around the table. Warren leaned back in his chair with a slight smile. What you don't know, Marcus continued, is that this lawsuit is being funded and directed by someone in this room. The murmurs grew louder. Warren's smile faltered. Charles Warren has been funneling money to Henderson through a network of shell companies since the day she filed suit. I have bank records, communications, and testimony from 3 of his former associates who have agreed to cooperate with federal investigators. Warren shot to his feet. This is outrageous! You can't make accusations like... I'm not finished. Marcus's voice cut through the room like a blade. Charles has been orchestrating this attack because I refused to approve his merger proposal. A proposal that would have enriched him personally while eliminating thousands of jobs. This entire lawsuit is a leverage play designed to force me out so he can push the merger through. You have no proof. Marcus opened the folder, spreading documents across the table. Wire transfers, emails, phone records, it's all here. Would you like me to read your message to Henderson from last week? The one where you promised her an additional $200,000 if she made the girl look crazy. Warren's face went white. And speaking of the girl, Marcus picked up a single sheet of paper. My daughter Olivia asked to contribute a statement. She's 6 years old. She asked me if she could tell her truth. I'm going to read it now. The room went silent. Marcus's voice trembled as he began. My name is Olivia Ashford. I am 6 years old. Mrs. Henderson was supposed to take care of me, but she didn't. She made my hair so tangly that my head hurt all the time. She didn't let me eat when I was hungry. She told me scary things to make me be quiet. She said my daddy would send me away if I told anyone. I was really scared for a long time. But then Emma came. She looked at me when no one else would. She helped me be brave. My daddy cried when he found out what happened. He said he was sorry. He holds my hand every night now. Mrs. Henderson is lying. I know because I was there. She was mean to me, and she is still being mean by saying Emma and my daddy are bad. They are not bad. They are my family, and families tell the truth. Silence hung over the room like a weight. Warren's face had gone from white to gray. Around the table, board members exchanged glances, horrified, moved, furious. "I call for an immediate vote," said Victoria Chen, the board's longest-serving member. "Charles Warren should be removed from this board and referred for investigation." "Seconded," said 3 voices at once. The vote was unanimous. Charles Warren didn't even try to argue. He simply gathered his things and walked out a broken man. After the meeting, Marcus called Emma from the car. "It's over," he said. "Warren's out. Henderson's lawsuit is going to collapse without his backing, and the board just gave me a unanimous vote of confidence." Emma burst into tears. "Really, it's actually over. It's over. We won." His voice cracked. "We won because of Olivia, because of you, because somehow, against all odds, a shy girl who apologized for breathing saw what everyone else missed and refused to look away." "Come home," Emma whispered. "Come home to us. I'm already on my way." When Marcus walked through the door, Olivia was waiting. "Did my letter help?" she asked anxiously. "Did it work?" Marcus swept her up in his arms, holding her tight. "It worked, baby. It absolutely worked. You were so brave. I'm so proud of you." "So the bad people lost. The bad people lost." Olivia grinned, that pure, radiant grin that had been absent for so long and now appeared more and more often. "Good, because I was thinking about butterflies again for the wedding. Can we get rainbow ones?" Marcus laughed, tears streaming down his face. "Rainbow butterflies. I'll see what I can do." Over his daughter's shoulder, he met Emma's eyes. She was crying too, crying and smiling and looking at him like he was her whole world. And in that moment, Marcus Ashford finally understood what he'd been fighting for all along. Not his company, not his reputation. This family, this love, everything else was just noise. 6 months had passed since the board meeting that changed everything. Henderson's lawsuit collapsed within weeks of Warren's removal. Without his financial backing and strategic guidance, her legal team abandoned ship. She tried to continue pro bono, but no lawyer would touch her case once the evidence of her abuse became public. The last anyone heard, she had fled the country to avoid criminal charges Marcus had finally agreed to press. Charles Warren faced federal investigation for fraud and market manipulation. His assets were frozen, his reputation destroyed. The merger he had sacrificed everything for died on the vine, and the Ashford estate. It had become something none of them expected, a home. Emma stood at the kitchen counter attempting to frost a birthday cake while Olivia supervised from her perch on a stool. "More purple," Olivia instructed. "It needs way more purple." "Sweetheart, if I add any more purple, it's going to look like a grape exploded." "Grapes are delicious. Purple is delicious. More purple." Emma laughed, adding another squeeze of food coloring to the frosting. "You're very bossy for someone who's turning 7 tomorrow." "Daddy says I'm assertive. He says it's a leadership quality." "Of course he does." Marcus appeared in the doorway, drawn by the sound of their laughter. "Did I hear my name being taken in vain?" "Daddy!" Olivia scrambled off her stool and launched herself at him. "Emma won't make my cake purple enough. A travesty." Marcus scooped her up, examining the cake with exaggerated seriousness. I see the problem. This cake is at least 40% not purple. Unacceptable. See? Olivia beamed triumphantly at Emma. Daddy agrees. Daddy is a pushover who would agree the sky was green if you asked nicely enough. The sky could be green, Marcus said reasonably. Under certain atmospheric conditions, during the aurora borealis for instance, you're not helping. He grinned, settling Olivia on his hip and crossing to Emma's side. I'm not trying to help, I'm trying to win my daughter's favor so she'll pick me for her birthday outing tomorrow. There's a birthday outing. Surprise. Marcus kissed Emma's temple. I was going to tell you tonight, Olivia gets to choose one person to take her somewhere special, anywhere she wants. It's her day. Olivia's face scrunched in concentration. This is very hard. I love you both the same amount. You don't have to decide right now, sweetheart. No, I already know. Olivia's expression cleared. I pick both of you. Together. We're a family, so we should go together. Emma and Marcus exchanged a look, the kind of look that said more than words ever could. Both of us it is. Marcus agreed, his voice thick. Where do you want to go? The butterfly garden, and then ice cream, and then the beach, and then more ice cream. That's a lot of ice cream. I'm turning 7. 7 is a very important ice cream number. Emma burst out laughing. I can't argue with that logic. Neither could Marcus. Later that night, after Olivia was asleep, Marcus found Emma on the terrace. She was staring at the ocean, her expression thoughtful. Penny, for your thoughts. She turned, smiling. Just thinking about how different everything is. A year ago, I was a nursing school dropout helping my mother fold laundry. Now you're what? I don't even know how to describe it. Everything I never knew I wanted. Marcus moved to stand beside her, their shoulders touching. I have something for you. Marcus, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, I want to. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Emma's heart stopped. Before you panic, he said quickly, this isn't what you think. Well, it's not exactly what you think. Open it. She took the box with trembling hands. Inside was a ring, but not an engagement ring. It was a delicate band of rose gold set with 3 small stones, a diamond, a sapphire, and an amethyst. The diamond is for you, Marcus explained, for your clarity, your ability to see what others miss. The sapphire is for Olivia, her birthstone, and the amethyst is for me, purple because apparently it's a leadership color. Emma laughed through sudden tears. Olivia told you that, didn't she? She may have mentioned it, repeatedly. He took the ring from the box and slipped it onto her right hand. This isn't a proposal, not yet, but it's a promise that we're in this together, the 3 of us, a family. Whatever comes next, we face it as one. Emma looked at the ring on her finger, then at the man who had given it to her. I love you, she said. I love you and your daughter and this strange, beautiful life we're building. And I don't need a proposal to know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Marcus's breath caught. Is that a yes to a question I haven't asked yet? Consider it a preview. He kissed her, then slow and deep, the ocean breeze tangling their hair together. When they finally broke apart, Emma was laughing. What? Marcus asked. I was just thinking about what my mother would say if she could see this. The maid's daughter kissing a billionaire on a terrace overlooking the ocean. It sounds like a telenovela. Your mother would say it's about time. She already has, multiple times, with increasing volume. Marcus grinned. I love Rosa. She loves you too, though she'll deny it if you ask. They stood together watching the moonlight dance on the waves. I want to do something, Marcus said suddenly. For Olivia's birthday. Something bigger than a butterfly garden. What kind of something? I want to make it official. You, me, Olivia, a family legally recognized. He turned to face her fully. I want to ask you to marry me, properly, tomorrow, in front of Olivia so she knows she's part of it, so she knows she's not just along for the ride, she's the reason for the whole journey. Emma's heart swelled until she thought it might burst. You want to propose at your daughter's birthday party? I want to propose at our daughter's birthday party if you'll have me, if you'll have us. Emma didn't even hesitate. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Olivia's 7th birthday dawned bright and perfect. The butterfly garden was everything she'd dreamed of, thousands of colorful wings fluttering around them as she ran from flower to flower, laughing with pure joy. Emma and Marcus followed at a slower pace, hands intertwined, stealing glances at each other like teenagers. When are you going to do it? Emma whispered. Soon. I want it to be perfect. It's already perfect. More perfect then. Rosa had joined them for the outing along with Walter, who had insisted on coming despite his aching knees. They sat on a bench watching Olivia twirl among the monarchs, both of them dabbing at their eyes. That child, Rosa said. Look at her. So different from the ghost she was when we first came. She's blooming, Walter agreed. Like one of my roses, just needed the right care. She needed love, real love, not the kind you buy with money. She's got plenty of that now. Rosa looked toward Emma and Marcus, still holding hands by the koi pond. My daughter, my quiet, scared little girl, look at her now, strong, brave, in love. You raised her well, Rosa. I raised her to survive. She learned to thrive on her own. Rosa smiled through her tears, and she taught the rest of us how to do the same. After the butterfly garden came ice cream, 2 scoops as promised, though. Olivia negotiated her way to 3 by pointing out that 7 was in fact a very important ice cream number. Then the beach. Olivia built sandcastles while Emma and Marcus spread a blanket nearby. Rosa and Walter walked along the shoreline, their comfortable silence speaking of a friendship that had deepened over the past year. Daddy! Olivia abandoned her sandcastle and padded over into each, clinging to her legs. Can I ask you something? Anything, baby. Are you going to marry Emma? Marcus's heart stuttered. He glanced at Emma, who looked equally caught off guard. Why do you ask? Because you look at her the way princes look at princesses in movies, right before the happy ending. Olivia's expression was earnest. And I was thinking if you did marry her, then she'd really be my mom. For real. Forever. Would you like that? More than anything in the whole world? Olivia's voice trembled slightly. I used to wish for a mom every night. When Mrs. Henderson was mean, I would close my eyes and wish really hard for someone to come and make everything better. And then Emma came, and she did make everything better, so I think she's magic. And magic people should definitely be moms. Emma's hand found Marcus's, squeezing tight. Well, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion, since you've given your approval. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a second velvet box, this one unmistakably holding an engagement ring. Olivia's eyes went wide as saucers. Emma Chen! Marcus shifted to one knee in the sand right there on the beach with his daughter watching and the waves rolling in behind them. You walked into my life when I was lost. You saw my daughter when I was too blind to look. You saved both of us with nothing but courage and kindness. And a heart bigger than anyone I've ever known. Emma's tears were flowing freely now. I don't deserve you. I know that. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the love you've given us. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond solitaire. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife and Olivia's mother and the heart of our family? Say yes. Olivia bounced excitedly. Say yes, say yes, say yes. Emma laughed through her tears. I think I've been outvoted. That's not an answer. Yes. She pulled him to his feet and into her arms. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll be Olivia's mother. Yes to everything. Yes, forever. Marcus slid the ring onto her finger, her left hand this time where it belonged. And then Olivia was between them, wrapping her arms around both of their waists, squeezing with all her 7-year-old might. This is the best birthday ever, she declared. I got a mom. From down the beach, Rose's voice carried on the wind. Finally, I thought he'd never ask. Walter's deep laugh followed, and standing there on the sand, surrounded by the people she loved, Emma understood something she'd never quite grasped before. Home wasn't a place, it was people. It was choosing to stay. It was showing up day after day, even when it was hard. It was this the wedding planning consumed the next 3 months. Olivia appointed herself chief consultant with opinions on everything from flower arrangements to seating charts. She took her duties very seriously. No, Daddy, the roses have to be next to the lilies. It's called aesthetic. Where did you learn the word aesthetic? Miss Rosa taught me. She says it's very important. Marcus looked to Rosa for help. She just shrugged. The child has taste. Let her work. Emma watched these interactions with a full heart. Her mother, once so afraid of losing her job, now spoke to Marcus like family. Because she was family. They all were. The wedding was set for spring, Olivia's insistence, because spring meant butterflies. But before they could reach the altar, there was one more storm to weather. It came in the form of a letter delivered on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Marcus opened it without thinking, then went very still. What is it? Emma asked, instantly alert. He handed her the letter without a word. It was from Margaret. Dear Marcus and Emma, the letter read. I've thought long and hard about whether to send this. Part of me knows I have no right to contact you after everything that's happened. But I've just learned about your engagement, and I felt I needed to say something before you begin your new life together. First, congratulations. I mean that sincerely. From what I've heard, Emma is everything I couldn't be for Olivia, present, patient, brave. She deserves to be that little girl's mother. And you deserve a partner who sees you fully, which I never did. Second, I want you to know that I'm not going to try to interfere, not now, not ever. The custody papers I signed after dropping the case were final, and I meant every word of them. Olivia belongs with you, both of you. But I do have a request. Not a demand, just an ask. And if you say no, I'll understand. I would like to write to Olivia, just letters. Nothing intrusive, nothing manipulative. Just a few words now and then so she knows I'm thinking of her. So she knows that even though I made terrible mistakes, I never stopped loving her. I know I don't deserve this. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I'm asking anyway because I've learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for what you need, even when you're certain you won't get it. Whatever you decide, I wish you all the happiness in the world. You've earned it. Margaret. Emma set the letter down slowly. What do you think? Marcus stared at the paper like it might bite him. I don't know. A year ago I would have burned it. But now I think about Olivia's letter. About how she spoke up even when she was terrified. About how courage isn't just fighting, it's also forgiving. He exhaled heavily. I don't trust Margaret. I might never trust her, but I'm not sure that means Olivia shouldn't have the choice. You want to show her the letter? I want to ask her what she wants. This is her mother. It should be her decision. Emma nodded slowly. You've changed, Marcus Ashford. You changed me. They found Olivia in the garden with Walter helping him deadhead roses. Her small hands were careful and precise, and she listened intently as the old man explained which blooms to keep and which to remove. Olivia. Marcus crouched beside her. Can we talk to you about something? She looked up immediately, sensing the gravity in his tone. Is something wrong? No, baby, nothing's wrong, but something came in the mail today, and we think you should know about it. They sat together on Walter's bench, Olivia between them. The letter in Marcus's hands. This is from your mommy, your birth mother, Margaret. He watched her face carefully. She heard that Emma and I are getting married, and she wanted to send you her good wishes. She also asked if she could write to you sometimes, not visit, just letters. But we wanted to ask you first. Olivia's face was impossible to read. She wants to write to me? Yes. Why? She says she wants you to know she's thinking of you, that she loves you even though she made mistakes. Olivia was quiet for a long moment. Emma and Marcus exchanged worried glances. Finally, Olivia spoke. Miss Rosa told me a story once about how sometimes people break things and they don't know how to fix them, so they just leave. But leaving doesn't mean they stopped caring. It just means they didn't know what else to do. That's very wise, Emma said softly. I think maybe my first mommy was like that, broken and scared and not knowing what to do. Olivia looked up at Marcus with those old knowing eyes. I don't want her to feel alone. Feeling alone is the worst feeling in the world. Marcus's throat tightened. So you want us to say yes? I want her to know I'm okay. I want her to know I'm happy and I have a family and I'm not invisible anymore. Olivia straightened her small shoulders. Maybe if she knows that she won't feel so broken. Emma pulled her into a hug, tears streaming down her face. When did you get so wise, little one? I learned from you. You said courage means doing scary things because they're right. Writing to my first mommy is scary, but I think it's right. That night, Marcus wrote a response to Margaret. Dear Margaret, Olivia has agreed to receive letters from you. She asked us to tell you that she's happy that she has a family, and that she hopes you're not feeling alone. She also wanted you to know that she's not invisible anymore. This isn't forgiveness. I'm not sure I know how to forgive what happened, but Olivia has taught me that courage isn't just about fighting. It's about leaving doors open even when you're not sure what will walk through. Consider this door open. A crack. We'll see where it leads. Marcus. He sent it before he could change his mind. The wedding day arrived on a perfect spring morning. Butterflies, actual butterflies, hundreds of them had been arranged to be released during the ceremony. Olivia had personally supervised their ceremony for the past week, visiting the butterfly handlers daily to ensure her tiny guests were being treated properly. They need to be happy, she explained seriously. Happy butterflies fly better. Rosa helped Emma into her dress, simple ivory silk, nothing extravagant. Emma had refused anything elaborate. I'm marrying the man, not hosting a coronation, she'd said. But standing in front of the mirror now, her mother fussing with her veil, Emma felt like royalty anyway. You look beautiful, mija. Rosa's voice trembled. Your father would be so proud. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She'd thought about her absent father a lot lately, the man who'd taught her compassion even as he'd left to pursue it elsewhere. I wish he could be here. He is. Rosa pressed a hand to Emma's heart. He's right here. He always has been. A knock at the door. Olivia burst in, resplendent in her purple flower girl dress, a crown of baby's breath in her hair. It's time. It's time. The butterflies are ready and Daddy's crying already, and Walter says if we don't start soon, he's going to fall asleep standing up. Emma laughed, wiping her eyes. We can't have that. Come on. Olivia grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the door. Come on, let's go get married. The ceremony was held in the garden Walter had tended for 40 years. Marcus stood at the altar, struggling to maintain composure as Emma appeared at the end of the aisle. She was walking toward him, bouquet in hand, the woman who had saved him when he didn't even know he was drowning. Olivia skipped ahead, scattering purple flower petals with aggressive enthusiasm. The guests, a small group of close friends and chosen family, laughed at her antics. When Emma reached him, Marcus took her hands. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi yourself. You're beautiful. You're biased. Completely, and I don't care." The officiant cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Marcus Ashford and Emma Chen. But this is not just a wedding between two people. It is the creation of a family born. Not from blood, but from choice, from courage, from love that saw what others missed and refused to look away." Marcus glanced at Olivia, who was standing between them, her small hand clutching Emma's dress. "Marcus and Emma have written their own vows. Marcus, would you like to begin?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Emma, a year ago I was a ghost in my own life. I had a house, but not a home. A daughter I couldn't see. A heart I'd locked away behind walls of work and denial. And then you knocked on my door at midnight and told me truths I didn't want to hear." His voice cracked. Emma squeezed his hands. "You saved my daughter. You saved me. You showed me that courage isn't about being strong. It's about being honest, even when it costs you everything. You loved us when we were broken, and you stayed while we healed. I can't promise you perfection, but I can promise you this. I will spend every day of my life being present, being grateful, being the man you've helped me become. I love you, Emma Chen, today and always." Emma blinked back tears. "Marcus, I came to this house with nothing but a promise to help my mother. I found a little girl who needed to be seen. I found a man who'd forgotten how to feel. I found a family I didn't know I was missing." She turned to include Olivia in her gaze. "But more than that, I found myself. I spent so long being quiet, being small, apologizing for taking up space. You and Olivia taught me that I deserve to be seen too, that my voice matters, that love isn't something you earn, it's something you give freely without conditions." Her voice strengthened. "I promise to love you through the hard times and the easy ones. I promise to tell you the truth even when it's difficult. I promise to stand beside you, behind you, and sometimes in front of you, when you need protecting. And I promise—" She looked down at Olivia. "I promise to be the mother this amazing little girl deserves, today and always." Olivia beamed up at her. The officiant smiled. "And now I believe the youngest member of this family has something she'd like to add." Marcus and Emma exchanged surprised looks. This wasn't planned. Olivia stepped forward, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from a hidden pocket in her dress. "I wrote something," she announced, "for both of you." She unfolded the paper and began to read, her small voice carrying across the garden. "Before Emma came, I was invisible. My head hurt all the time. I thought nobody loved me. I wished every night for a family, but I didn't think wishes came true. Then Emma saw me. She held my hand when I was scared. She told me I wasn't difficult. She brushed my hair even though it hurt and stayed until I felt better. And my daddy woke up. He started making pancakes and reading stories and crying when I showed him my picture. He said sorry a lot at first, but now he just says I love you. I used to be scared that everyone would leave, but Emma and Daddy taught me that some people stay. Real family isn't just who you're born to, it's who shows up, who holds your hand, who sees you when you feel invisible. So today, I'm not just getting a stepmom, I'm getting a forever family, and I'm never going to be invisible again. The end." She looked up triumphant. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Marcus dropped to his knees and pulled Olivia into his arms. Emma joined them. A second later, the three of them tangled together in a tearful, laughing embrace. "I love you," Marcus managed to say. "Both of you. So much. I love you too, Daddy. I love you too, Mommy. Olivia said the word naturally, like it had always belonged to Emma. Can we do the butterflies now? Laughter rippled through the crowd. Yes, baby, Emma said, wiping her eyes. We can do the butterflies now. The officiant raised his voice. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, and officially a family. You may kiss the bride. Marcus kissed Emma a real kiss, not performative, full of promise and passion and future. And at that exact moment, hundreds of butterflies were released into the air. They rose in a cloud of color monarchs and painted ladies' swallowtails and admirals swirling around the newlyweds like a living celebration. Olivia shrieked with delight, spinning in circles with her arms outstretched, trying to catch them. One butterfly, a delicate monarch, landed on Emma's shoulder. Look, Mommy, Olivia pointed. It likes you. Emma held very still, watching the butterfly flex its wings. Maybe it knows, she said softly. Maybe it knows we're celebrating new beginnings. Marcus wrapped his arms around both of them, holding his wife and daughter close. We are, he agreed, the best kind of new beginnings. The reception was joyful chaos. Rosa danced with Walter until they were both breathless. Olivia demanded 3 pieces of cake and got them because nobody could say no to the flower girl. Emma and Marcus swayed together on the dance floor, lost in their own world. No regrets? Marcus asked. About what? Any of it. Dropping out of school, coming to work here, getting tangled up with a broken billionaire and his traumatized daughter. Emma pretended to think about it. Well, the broken billionaire did turn out to be pretty handsome. Just pretty handsome. Very handsome. Devastatingly handsome. Is that better? Much. She rested her head on his shoulder. No regrets, not a single one. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Even the midnight confrontation, especially the midnight confrontation, that was my finest hour. Marcus laughed, pulling her closer. I love you, Emma Ashford. The new name sent a thrill through her. I love you too, Marcus Ashford, now and forever. As the evening wound down and the last guests departed, the new family gathered in the garden one final time. Olivia was half asleep, draped over Marcus's shoulder, her flower crown askew. Rosa had gone to bed exhausted but happy. Walter was doing one last round of the roses, checking on his beloved plants. Emma stood beside her husband, looking at the stars. 1 year, she said. 1 year ago I was afraid to take up space, afraid to speak up, afraid that wanting something would mean losing it. And now I know that fear doesn't go away, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to act anyway, to see what others miss, to stay when it would be easier to leave. Marcus shifted Olivia's weight, settling her more comfortably against his chest. You know what I realized tonight during Olivia's speech? What? She said she wished for a family and thought wishes didn't come true. But her wish did come true, just not the way she expected. She didn't get a storybook family. She got us. Messy, imperfect, cobbled together from broken pieces, and somehow that's better than anything she could have imagined. Emma smiled, reaching out to stroke Olivia's sleeping hair, soft and healthy. Now nothing like the matted nightmare it had been when they first met. The best families always are. Messy, imperfect, built from people who chose each other. Is that the moral of our story? Part of it. Emma turned to face him fully. The other part is this. Sometimes the people society overlooks are the only ones brave enough to see the truth. A maid's daughter saw what billionaires missed. A shy girl who apologized for breathing ended up saving 2 people who didn't even know they were drowning. Marcus leaned down to kiss her forehead. You never apologize for breathing anymore. I don't need to. I finally believe I deserve to take up space. Olivia stirred against Marcus's shoulder, mumbling something in her sleep. They both went quiet, waiting to see if she'd wake. She didn't, just snuggled closer and sighed contentedly. "We should get her to bed," Emma whispered. "One more minute." Marcus gazed at his daughter, then at his wife, then at the stars above them. "I just want to remember this. All of it. The way the garden smells, the way you look in moonlight, the weight of our daughter in my arms. I want to hold on to it forever." "You don't have to hold on to it." Emma took his free hand, interlacing their fingers. "This isn't a moment. It's the beginning. We have a whole lifetime of moments ahead of us. Promise, promise." They stood there for a while longer, a family forged from courage and choice, from pain transformed into love. Then they walked inside together toward the home they'd built, toward the future they'd earned. And the door closed behind them, not on their story, but on everything that had come before. Because this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. The smallest acts of courage can change everything. One maid's daughter who refused to look away, one forgotten child who finally learned she was worth seeing. One father who chose to wake up before it was too late. And a family that wasn't born but built choice by choice, day by day, until it became unbreakable. They were living proof that love isn't about where you come from. It's about who shows up, who stays, who sees you when you feel invisible. And in the Ashford home, everyone was finally perfectly, eternally seen. The end.